What's going on, everyone? It's Harris here. We've got something amazing for you today. What if Andromeda Tonks rescued Harry and he claimed the Black Lordship before Sirius? Real quick, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Join thousands of story lovers and hit that subscribe button. Alright, story time. Chapter 1, Blood of the Blacks. The ancient black family tapestry rippled with magic in Andromeda Tonks' study, startling her from her paperwork. She hadn't seen it active in years, not since she'd been blasted off it by her own mother for marrying Ted. Andromeda set down her quill and approached cautiously, dark eyes narrowing as golden threads suddenly began reweaving themselves across the damaged fabric. "What in Merlin's name?" she murmured, tracing her fingers over the shimmering lines. The magic sparked against her skin, recognizing her blood despite her disownment. Names and faces bloomed across the previously charred section, family connections restoring themselves without explanation. Her gaze followed the new golden threads, stopping at a small, pulsing portrait that hadn't been there before. Harry James Potter. The boy's image looked sickly, unnaturally thin, with dark shadows forming under his eyes even in the magical portrait. More disturbing was the crimson aura surrounding him, the tapestry's way of indicating a family member in mortal danger. "Ted," she called sharply, her voice carrying through their modest home. "Ted!" Her husband appeared in the doorway, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. "What's happened? Look at this." She pointed to Harry's image, which seemed to flicker with each passing second. "The black family magic is recognizing Harry Potter as one of our own, through his grandmother Doria. And it's showing he's in danger, right now." Ted's normally jovial face hardened. "Where is he supposed to be living?" "With those Muggle relatives, right?" "Lily's sister and her husband," Andromeda confirmed, already summoning her traveling cloak. "In Surrey somewhere. Dumbledore arranged it all very quietly after that night. And no one's checked on him in 8 years?" Ted asked incredulously. "Apparently not well enough." Andromeda's jaw set in determination as she retrieved her wand from her desk. The family magic wouldn't activate like this unless his life was genuinely threatened. "I need to find him." "I'm coming with you," Ted said, already summoning his own cloak. "No." She touched his arm. "One of us needs to stay with Nymphadora, and I need you to contact Amelia Bones at the DMLE. Don't go through official channels, use the emergency flu address I have in my contacts book. Tell her it's about Harry Potter and that I'm invoking the ancient family's protection clause." Ted's eyebrows shot up. "That hasn't been used in centuries, I know. But it's never been formally repealed," Andromeda said. "If Harry truly has active black blood as the tapestry suggests, I can legally remove him from danger as his closest magical relation currently able to act." She didn't add what they both knew, that her cousin Sirius, Harry's godfather, languished in Azkaban for betraying the Potters. "What about Dumbledore?" Ted asked quietly. Andromeda's expression hardened. "He had 8 years to ensure that boy's safety. The black family magic doesn't lie about blood threats. We'll deal with Albus later." 10 minutes and a complex location spell using the tapestry's magic later, Andromeda appeared with a soft crack at the edge of a painfully ordinary suburban neighborhood. Privet Drive, Little Whinging. She glamoured her robes to appear as a conservative Muggle business suit and strode purposefully toward number 4, her wand concealed but ready. The perfectly manicured lawn and pristine exterior gave no hint of the trouble the family magic had detected. A faint scream from inside the house shattered that illusion. Andromeda abandoned all pretense of casual approach. She rushed to the door, casting a quick detection spell that revealed no magical protections, only standard Muggle locks. Another scream, higher, younger, propelled her to action. "Alohomora." The door unlocked with a click, and she pushed it open. The scene inside froze her blood. A massive walrus of a man, Vernon Dursley, she presumed, had a small, skeletal boy cornered in the hallway. The man's face was purple with rage, his meaty fist raised to strike again. The boy, Harry was already bleeding from his nose, a livid bruise forming around his eye. "Who the bloody hell are you?" Vernon bellowed, turning toward her. "Get out of my house." Andromeda's wand was up in an instant. "Step away from the boy. Now. You're one of them." Vernon's face somehow darkened further. "One of those freaks." Behind Vernon, Petunia Desley appeared from the kitchen, her horsey face contorted with fear and disgust. "Vernon, she has a Petrificus totalis." Andromeda cast almost lazily, freezing Vernon mid-lunge. His massive body crashed to the floor with a thud that shook the pictures on the walls. She turned her wand to Petunia. "Don't make me repeat myself." Petunia backed against the wall, hands raised. A pudgy boy peeked from behind her skirts, then fled upstairs with a wail. Andromeda stepped carefully around Vernon's prone form, her eyes never leaving Petunia as she approached Harry. The boy had pressed himself against the wall, looking more terrified of her than his uncle. "Harry," she said softly, lowering herself to his eye level. "My name is Andromeda Tonks. I'm related to you through your grandmother, Doria Black. I'm here to help you." The boy's eyes, Lily's eyes, startlingly green, widened with confusion. "I don't have any family except Aunt Petunia." "That's not true," Andromeda said gently. "And I can prove it." "May I?" She slowly extended her hand. Harry flinched but didn't retreat. His gaze darted to his uncle's immobile form, then back to her with cautious hope. "How did you do that to Uncle Vernon?" he whispered. "Magic," she answered simply. "The same magic you have inside you, Harry. There's no such thing as—" He stopped abruptly as a small, warm light bloomed in Andromeda's palm. "There is," she said, letting the magical light dance across her fingers. "And it's part of who you are. Your parents were magical too." "Died in a car crash," he mumbled automatically. Andromeda's jaw tightened. She shot Petunia a venomous look. "That's a lie. Your parents were heroes who died protecting you." She turned back to Harry. "I can tell you everything about them, about your heritage, but right now, we need to get you somewhere safe. Will you come with me?" Harry glanced at his aunt, who remained pressed against the wall. "But I'm supposed to stay here. They're my guardians." "They've forfeited that right," Andromeda said firmly. "No true guardian treats a child like this." She gestured to his injuries. "I have a daughter just a few years older than you. We have a spare bedroom that would be yours. There would be proper meals, no cupboards, and absolutely no hitting. Ever." Harry's breath caught. "How did you know about the cupboard?" Andromeda followed his gaze to the small door under the stairs, with multiple locks on the outside. White-hot fury coursed through her, but she kept her expression gentle. "Lucky guess," she said. "Will you let me heal your injuries before we go?" Harry nodded hesitantly. Andromeda murmured healing spells, watching the bruises fade and the small cut on his lip close. The wonder in Harry's eyes as he felt the pain disappear nearly broke her heart. "There's more where that came from," she promised. "Is there anything you want to take with you? Toys? Clothes?" Harry shook his head. "I don't have much." "Show me your cupboard," she said quietly. The space was worse than she'd imagined, a thin, stained mattress, a shelf with a few broken toy soldiers, and clothing that would better serve as rags. Spiders had made homes in the corners, and a crude drawing of a birthday cake was scratched into the wall. Andromeda flicked her wand, summoning everything that might hold any value to Harry into a conjured bag. "That's everything," Harry confirmed, clutching the small bag to his chest. Andromeda straightened up and turned to Petunia, who had remained frozen in the hallway. "You should know, Petunia, that by the ancient laws of magical Britain, I am invoking my right as Harry's blood relation to remove him from your care. When the authorities arrive, and they will, you'll find the consequences of your treatment of him most uncomfortable. You can't just take him." Petunia finally found her voice. Dumbledore said, "Albus Dumbledore has no legal authority over Harry Potter's placement," Andromeda cut in coldly. "Blood magic, however, does. And the Black family magic has recognized Harry as one of our own. You're fortunate I don't invoke more permanent justice for what you've done." She turned back to Harry, her voice softening. "Ready to go?" Harry nodded, still clutching his bag of meager possessions. "We're going to disappear and reappear somewhere else," she explained. "It might feel strange the first time. Hold tightly to my hand and try not to let go." As Harry slipped his small hand into hers, Andromeda felt a surge of protective magic, the Black family magic recognizing and embracing its lost son. Before Petunia could say another word, they vanished with a crack. Ted Tonks paced the living room of their cozy cottage, while their 16-year-old daughter Nymphadora, home for the weekend from Hogwarts, changed her hair color from pink to blue to purple with nervous energy. "Mum's taking forever," she complained, her hair settling on a worried orange. "What if something's wrong?" "Your mother can handle herself," Ted assured her, though his own concern was evident. "Amelia should be here soon too," a crack in the garden interrupted him. Andromeda appeared on the path, holding the hand of a small, underfed boy with wild black hair and startling green eyes. "Bloody hell," Nymphadora whispered, earning a half-hearted language from her father as they rushed to the door. Harry stumbled slightly, disoriented from his first apparition. The garden around him spun with colors, more flowers than he'd ever seen outside of pictures at school. A cottage stood before him, warm light spilling from its windows, smoke curling from a crooked chimney. "This is your house?" he asked, his voice small with wonder. "It's home," Andromeda corrected gently. "And now it's yours too." The door burst open, revealing a tall man with kind eyes and a teenage girl whose hair was literally changing colors as she bounced on her toes. "Is this him? Is this Harry?" the girl asked excitedly. "Harry, this is my husband Ted and our daughter Nymphadora," Andromeda introduced. "Don't call me Nymphadora," the girl groaned automatically. Her hair settled on a friendly pink as she approached Harry. "Watch her, Harry. Everyone calls me Tonks. Except my mum when she's cross with me." "Your hair." Harry couldn't stop staring. "I'm a metamorphmagus," she explained proudly, scrunching up her face to change her nose into a pig's snout, then back again. "Means I can change how I look. Pretty cool, right?" For the first time, Harry's face broke into a genuine smile. "That's brilliant." Ted stepped forward, offering his hand to Harry. "Welcome to our home, Harry. We've got a room ready for you, and dinner almost finished. You must be hungry." The mention of food made Harry's stomach growl audibly. He blushed, but Ted just smiled wider. "I'll take that as a yes." "Come on in, then." As they entered the cottage, Andromeda pulled Ted aside. "It's worse than we thought. They were keeping him in a cupboard, Ted. A cupboard under the stairs. He's malnourished, has signs of long-term abuse, and they told him Lily and James died in a car crash." Ted's normally jovial face darkened. Merlin's beard. "Did you contact Amelia? She should be here soon. I've invoked the ancient family's protection clause. We need to get to Gringotts tomorrow to formalize everything before Dumbledore can intervene." "You don't think he knew?" Ted asked quietly. "I don't know what to think anymore," Andromeda admitted. "But I know Harry has black blood, and the family magic responded to him. That gives us legal standing no one can challenge, not even Albus." Inside, Nymphadora was giving Harry an enthusiastic tour of the cottage, pointing out moving photographs and magical objects that had him wide-eyed with amazement. "And this is our family tapestry," she explained, leading him into Andromeda's study. "Not as fancy as the main black one, but Mum recreated a portion of it when she married Dad." Harry approached the tapestry cautiously, studying the intricate golden threads. His eyes widened as he found his own name, connected through his grandmother Doria to the Black family line. "That's me?" he asked, touching the tapestry gently. Yep. Tonks confirmed. We're family, you and me. Second cousins once removed, or something like that. Mum would know exactly. Family, Harry repeated, as if testing the word. It's how Mum knew you needed help, Tonks explained. The tapestry showed you were in danger. Black family magic is dead useful sometimes, even if most of the actual blacks are completely mental. Nymphadora, Andromeda scolded, entering the study. Perhaps we could save the family history lessons until after Harry's had something to eat. Harry's stomach growled again on cue, and he followed them to a kitchen that smelled better than anything he'd experienced before. Ted had laid out a feast: roast chicken, potatoes, vegetables, and fresh bread. Harry hesitated before the loaded plate set before him. Go ahead, Ted encouraged. Eat as much as you like. Harry took a cautious bite, then began eating with increasing enthusiasm. The Tonks family exchanged concerned glances over his head at how famished he clearly was. Slow down a bit, Harry, Andromeda advised gently. There's plenty more, and we don't want you getting sick. Harry immediately slowed, looking worried. Sorry. Nothing to be sorry for, Ted assured him. Just looking out for your stomach, that's all. Halfway through the meal, a silvery lynx appeared in the middle of the kitchen, speaking with a deep, measured voice, arriving in 5 minutes. Bringing healer. Flow access requested. Harry nearly fell off his chair in shock. What was that? A Patronus message, Andromeda explained. From Amelia Bones. She's the head of magical law enforcement and a friend. She's coming to help us make sure you never have to go back to the Dursleys. Really? Harry's voice was small, hopeful but disbelieving. Really, Ted confirmed. In fact, if all goes well, we're hoping you might want to stay with us, permanently. Harry's fork clattered to his plate. You mean, like adoption? Something like that, Andromeda said carefully. Though in the wizarding world, there are different options. We'll explain everything once Amelia arrives. True to her word, 5 minutes later the fireplace flared green, and a stern-looking witch with a monocle stepped through, followed by a kindly older woman carrying a healer's bag. Andromeda, Ted, Amelia Bones greeted formally, then her expression softened as she spotted Harry. And you must be Mr. Potter. I'm Madam Bones, and this is Healer Abbott. Harry shrunk slightly in his chair, intimidated by these new arrivals. They're here to help, Tonks reassured him, her hair turning a calming blue. Madam Bones is basically the magical police chief, and Healer Abbott is like a magical doctor. Would it be alright if I examined you, Harry? Healer Abbott asked gently. Just to make sure you're healthy and to document any injuries you might have. Harry looked to Andromeda, who nodded encouragingly. It's standard procedure, Harry. And it will help ensure the Dursleys can't claim we kidnapped you. Okay, Harry agreed hesitantly. While Healer Abbott took Harry to the guest bedroom for examination, Andromeda, Ted, and Amelia gathered in the study. I've seen the Dursley residence, Amelia said grimly. The cupboard, the locks, it's enough to remove him permanently even without the ancient family's claws. Dumbledore will fight it, though. He has no legal standing, Andromeda insisted. The blood connection is clear, and the family magic has recognized Harry. I'm taking him to Gringotts tomorrow to formalize everything. The Black Lordship. Amelia raised an eyebrow. That's your plan? Andromeda nodded. Harry has a stronger claim than anyone, with Sirius in Azkaban and no legitimate black male heirs remaining. Through his grandmother Doria, and with the family magic already responding to him, he can claim the lordship before his 11th birthday under the ancient lineage exception. Bold move, Amelia commented. It would make him legally an adult in terms of his estate and guardianship, though he'd still need an appointed regent until he's 15. Which would be me, as his closest magical relation willing to serve, Andromeda confirmed. It bypasses any guardianship Dumbledore might claim, gives Harry access to his full inheritance, and protects him under the Wisingdomot Ancient Houses Act. And what about Sirius? Amelia asked quietly. A shadow crossed Andromeda's face. My cousin made his choices. If he's truly guilty of betraying the Potters, then he deserves Azkaban. But Harry shouldn't suffer for it. Ted cleared his throat. There's something else, Amelia. Harry knows nothing about magic, his parents, or his history. The Dursleys told him Lily and James died in a car crash. Amelia's monocle nearly fell from her eye. Preposterous. The boy doesn't know he's the boy who lived. Apparently not, Andromeda said. And I'd prefer to keep it that way for now. He needs time to adjust to magic and his new life before being burdened with his celebrity status. Their conversation was interrupted when Healer Abbott entered, her kind face set in grim lines. She handed a sealed parchment to Amelia. It's all documented, she said quietly. Severe malnutrition, improperly healed fractures, evidence of prolonged confinement in small spaces. The boy hasn't received proper medical care since his infancy. She shook her head sadly. I've given him nutrient potions and treated the most recent injuries, but he'll need a regimen of potions for at least 6 months to correct the malnutrition. I'll brew them myself, Andromeda promised, fury and determination evident in her voice. What about magical development? Ted asked. Has the neglect affected his core? To their surprise, Healer Abbott smiled slightly. Quite the opposite. His magical core is extraordinarily strong, likely compensating for the physical neglect. I'd say he's potentially more powerful than average, though he'll need proper training to control it. That settles it, Amelia said, tucking the medical report into her robes. I'll file the emergency custody transfer tonight under the Ancient Families Clause. Andromeda, you have my approval to proceed with the Gringotts claim tomorrow. I can't officially sanction it, but I won't oppose it either. Thank you, Amelia, Andromeda said sincerely. Don't thank me yet, the stern witch replied. Dumbledore won't take this lying down, and neither will the Ministry once they realize Harry Potter is now effectively beyond their control. You're stirring up a hornet's nest. Some nests need stirring, Ted commented. Amelia's lips twitched in the ghost of a smile. Indeed. I'll show myself out. Keep me informed. After the visitors departed, they found Harry in the living room with Nymphadora, who was entertaining him by morphing her features to match his, then transforming into various animals. And then Professor McGonagall caught me practicing in the girls' bathroom and gave me detention for frivolous use of natural talents, she was saying, making Harry giggle. Who's Professor McGonagall? Harry asked. She's the Transfiguration professor at Hogwarts, that's the magic school where I go. You'll go there too when you turn 11. Harry's eyes widened. A magic school? Really? The very same one your parents attended, Andromeda said, joining them. But that's still a couple of years away. How are you feeling after Healer Abbott's examination? Better, Harry admitted, touching his ribs where lingering pain had vanished. She gave me some potions that tasted awful but made everything stop hurting. That's just the beginning, Ted promised. Now, I think it's high time we showed you to your room, your real room, not a cupboard. And tomorrow, we have quite an adventure planned at the Wizarding Bank. Harry followed them upstairs, where Ted opened a door to reveal a modest but comfortable bedroom with a real bed, a desk, a wardrobe, and shelves lined with books and a few toys. This was our guest room, Andromeda explained. But now it's yours. We can redecorate it however you like. Harry stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the space. This is, all for me. All yours, Ted confirmed. The bathroom's down the hall, you share with Nymphadora when she's home from school. I'll try not to hog it, Tonks promised with a wink. Harry stepped into the room cautiously, running his hand over the soft blue quilt on the bed. I've never had a real bed before, he admitted quietly. The three Tonks exchanged heartbroken glances over his head. Well, you have one now, Andromeda said firmly, conjuring pajamas that looked like they might fit him. And tomorrow, we'll get you proper clothes and anything else you need. But I don't have any money, Harry protested. Ted chuckled. Don't worry about that, Harry. As it happens, money is one thing you definitely don't lack. But that's a conversation for tomorrow. For now, get some rest. It's been quite a day. After Harry had changed and climbed into bed, Andromeda sat on the edge of the mattress. Harry, there's something I want to explain before tomorrow. Do you know what lords and ladies are? Harry nodded. Like in history class. Nobles and stuff. The wizarding world still has those titles, and they come with responsibilities and power, she explained. Your grandmother, Doria, was from the Black family, a very old, very powerful wizarding family. With the current Lord Black in prison and no other direct male heirs, you might have a claim to become the next Lord Black. Harry's brow furrowed. Me? A lord? It's complicated, Andromeda admitted. But if it works, it would give you protection that no one, not the Dursleys, not the Ministry, not even Albus Dumbledore, could challenge. You would legally be in control of your own destiny, with me as your regent until you're older. Would I live with you still? Harry asked anxiously. Absolutely, she assured him. Nothing would change about that. It would just make it legally impossible for anyone to force you back to the Dursleys. Harry's eyes lit up. Then I want to do it. It won't be easy, Andromeda warned. The Black family magic will test you. It can be particular about who it accepts. I'm not afraid, Harry said with surprising determination. Andromeda smiled, seeing a flash of both James's courage and Lily's resolve in his expression. I believe you. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow will be a big day. She turned out the light with a wave of her wand, leaving a small magical nightlight glowing softly in the corner, a tiny dragon that breathed gentle flames of changing colors. Good night, Harry, she said softly. Good night. Andromeda, he replied hesitantly. You can call me Andy if you like. Most of the family does. Harry smiled in the dim light. Good night, Andy. And, thank you. As Andromeda closed the door, she felt the ancestral black magic stirring, both in her blood and, she suspected, in Harry's. Tonight would be interesting for the boy as the family magic began to acquaint itself with its potential new master. In his new bed, Harry fell into the deepest sleep of his life, surrounded by comfort he'd never known. As he drifted off, he didn't notice the faint silver and green tendrils of magic that began to swirl around him, testing, probing, and ultimately embracing him as one of their own. In his dreams, Harry walked through an ancient manor house, following whispers in a language he somehow understood despite never having heard it before. The portraits on the walls watched him pass, their eyes following with interest rather than malice. At the end of a long hallway, a door opened to reveal a room containing nothing but a pedestal, upon which sat a silver ring bearing a crest of stars and a raven. Take it, a voice whispered. It's yours by right of blood and magic. As Dream Harry reached for the ring, miles away in Azkaban prison, Sirius Black jerked awake in his cell, a familiar family magic suddenly brushing against his senses for the first time in years. Harry, he whispered into the darkness, unsure why his godson's name had come to his lips. And in his tower office at Hogwarts, Albus Dumbledore frowned as several silver instruments on his shelf suddenly stopped spinning, went silent, then resumed with an entirely different rhythm. Something had changed in the magical protection surrounding Harry Potter, something significant. He would need to visit Privet Drive immediately. But it was already too late. The Black family magic had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. Morning light filtered through curtains Harry hadn't closed properly, waking him gently. For a moment, he lay confused, unaccustomed to the softness beneath him and the warm weight of real blankets. Then yesterday's events rushed back, Andromeda's rescue, the Tonks family, magic being real, and this room, his room. He sat up slowly, half expecting to wake up back in his cupboard. But the room remained solid around him, sunlight illuminating shelves of books and the desk by the window. The little dragon nightlight had curled up on the bedside table, sleeping with tiny puffs of smoke rising from its nostrils. A knock at the door made him jump. "Harry? Are you awake?" It was Tonks, her voice cheerful. "Mum's made breakfast, and we've got a big day ahead." "Coming," Harry called, scrambling out of bed. He realized he had no clothes except the oversized hand-me-downs from Dudley in his small bag. As if reading his mind, Tonks added, "I've left some clothes outside your door. Dad shrunk some of my cousin's old things. They should fit until we can get you proper ones." Harry opened the door to find a neatly folded stack of clothes, jeans and a t-shirt that looked about his size, along with socks and even new underwear still in packaging. He changed quickly, marveling at wearing clothes that actually fit for the first time in his memory. Downstairs, the kitchen was filled with delicious smells. Ted sat at the table reading a newspaper with moving pictures, while Andromeda waved her wand at various pots and pans that seemed to be cooking by themselves. "Morning, Harry," Ted greeted cheerfully, folding his paper. "Sleep well?" "Yes, sir," Harry replied automatically. "Just Ted, please," he corrected kindly. "We're not much for formalities here." "Had any interesting dreams?" Andromeda asked casually, setting a plate piled with eggs, bacon, and toast in front of him. Harry paused, fork halfway to his mouth. "Actually, yes." "How did you know?" "The Black family magic often communicates through dreams," she explained, taking her own seat. "What did you see?" Harry described the manor house, the portraits, and the ring on the pedestal. Andromeda and Ted exchanged significant glances. "That's Ravensfield Manor," Andromeda said. "One of the Black family properties. And the ring you described is the Black family signet, the symbol of the Lordship." "So it wasn't just a dream?" Harry asked, amazed. "Not just a dream," she confirmed. "The family magic is reaching out to you, testing your worthiness and preparing you. It's actually a good sign, it means our plan for today might work." "What exactly are we doing today?" Harry asked between bites of the best breakfast he'd ever tasted. Ted grinned. "We're going to Gringotts, the wizarding bank run by goblins, to claim your inheritance and, if all goes well, make you Lord Black." Harry nearly choked on his toast. "Goblins? Real goblins?" "Very real," Andromeda assured him, amused by his reaction. "And very serious about money and bloodlines. They'll be the ones to verify your claim to the Black Lordship through your grandmother Doria." "Will it hurt?" Harry asked nervously. "Not physically," Andromeda said honestly. "But the family magic will test your character, your courage, and your resolve. The Blacks have a complicated history. Not all of the family has been on the side of light." "What do you mean?" Andromeda sighed. "The Black family motto is toujours pur, always pure. Many Blacks believe strongly in blood purity, the idea that magical people with only magical ancestors are superior to those with Muggle heritage." "Like your husband?" Harry asked perceptively, looking at Ted. "Exactly. I was disowned for marrying Ted, who comes from a non-magical family. But I believe, and I hope you do too, that such prejudice is wrong." "Of course it is," Harry said with unexpected firmness. "That's like how Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon treated me differently because they thought I was a freak. That's not fair." "No, it's not," Ted agreed, his expression softening. "And that attitude might actually help you with the Black family magic today. It's not just about bloodlines anymore, it's about worthiness and intent." Tonks bounded into the kitchen, her hair a vibrant purple this morning. "Are we ready for Operation Make Harry Stupidly Rich and Powerful?" "Nymphadora." Andromeda scolded, though her lips twitched. "What?" "It's true." Tonks protested, grabbing a piece of toast. The black fortune is massive, and the political clout is nothing to sneeze at either. Is that why we're doing this? Harry asked quietly. For money and power? No, Andromeda said firmly, giving her daughter a pointed look. We're doing this to protect you. The money and position are tools, Harry, not goals. They'll ensure no one can force you back to the Dursleys or control your future without your consent. Harry nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. When do we leave? As soon as you're ready, Ted said. I've taken the day off work, and Nymphadora has permission to miss classes today. Perks of having a daughter in Hufflepuff, Tonks explained with a grin. Professor Sprout is super understanding about family emergencies, especially when Mum writes the note. An hour later, after Harry had been given a crash course in Floo travel, which he managed with only minor stumbling, the Tonks family plus Harry emerged from the leaky cauldron into Diagon Alley. Harry gaped openly at the magical shopping district, his head swiveling to take in the strange shops, oddly dressed witches and wizards, and items floating in windows. It's a lot to take in, Ted said sympathetically. But try not to stare too obviously. We don't want to draw attention yet. Andromeda had transfigured a cap to help hide Harry's famous scar, and with his new, properly fitting clothes, he looked like any other wizarding child being taken shopping by family. The white marble building of Gringotts loomed ahead, impressive and slightly intimidating. Real goblins in scarlet and gold stood guard at the burnished bronze doors, eyeing customers suspiciously as they passed. Remember, Andromeda murmured as they approached, goblins value directness and respect. Don't show fear, but don't be arrogant either. Harry nodded, straightening his shoulders as they passed through the doors, then through a second silver set with the famous warning about thieves. Inside, the vast marble hall was lined with high counters where goblins weighed coins, examined jewels through eyeglasses, and scratched in ledgers with long quills. Andromeda approached a counter with a free goblin, Harry at her side and Ted and Tonks slightly behind. We seek a private audience with account manager Nagnok regarding the ancient and noble house of Black, Andromeda stated formally. The goblin peered down at them over half-moon spectacles. His gaze lingered on Harry, then flicked to the black family ring Andromeda wore, not the ladyship ring, but a lesser family ring that still marked her as a daughter of the house. And your business with the black accounts? The goblin inquired. A matter of inheritance and lordship, Andromeda replied. This is Harry James Potter, son of James Potter and grandson of Doria Black Potter. We come to claim his birthright. The goblin's eyes widened slightly, the only indication of surprise he allowed himself. Wait here, he instructed, before disappearing through a door behind the counter. Did I do something wrong? Harry whispered. Not at all, Andromeda reassured him. This is exactly what we expected. The black accounts are among the oldest and most valuable in Gringotts. They won't treat this claim lightly. Several minutes later, the goblin returned accompanied by an older, more elaborately dressed goblin with a scar running down one cheek. I am Nagnok, the new goblin announced. Account manager for the ancient and noble house of Black for the past 73 years. Follow me. They were led through ornate doors into a corridor lined with black marble, then into a spacious office decorated with weapons and what looked disturbingly like battle trophies. Nagnok took his seat behind a massive desk and gestured for them to sit in the chairs opposite. You claim the child has rights to the Black Lordship, Nagnok stated without preamble. Through Doria Black Potter. Yes, Andromeda confirmed. As the great-grandson of Cygnus Black II and with the current Lord Black, my cousin Sirius, imprisoned, Harry stands as the closest legitimate male heir with black blood. Closest legitimate male heir, Nagnok repeated, his sharp teeth visible in what might have been a smile. An interesting choice of words, Mrs. Tonks. Or should I say, Miss Black. You were never formally removed from the family ledgers, despite your mother's theatrical gestures. Andromeda's eyebrows rose slightly. I wasn't aware of that. Lord Arcturus never ratified your removal, Nagnok explained. A technicality, perhaps, but one that works in your favor today. He turned his penetrating gaze to Harry. "Boy. Do you understand what is being proposed here?" Harry swallowed but met the goblin's eyes steadily. "I'm going to try to become Lord Black, which would make me legally an adult for some things, and would protect me from having to go back to my aunt and uncle." Nagnock nodded approvingly at his directness. "And are you aware of the tests you must pass? The Black family magic is discriminating. Andromeda told me it would test my courage and character," Harry said. "I'm ready." "Brave words," Nagnock commented. "We shall see if they are warranted." He pulled a heavy ledger from a drawer and opened it to reveal pages filled with spidery script and intricate family trees. "First, we must verify your lineage." From another drawer, he produced a ceremonial silver dagger and a shallow black stone bowl etched with runes. "3 drops of blood in the bowl, Mr. Potter." Harry looked nervously at Andromeda, who nodded encouragingly. With only slight hesitation, he extended his hand. Nagnock made a small, precise cut on Harry's finger, allowing exactly 3 drops to fall into the bowl before healing the cut with a touch. The blood swirled in the bowl, then rose up in a crimson mist that formed into a miniature family tree, glowing names connecting back through generations. "James Charles Potter, son of Charles Potter and Doria Black," Nagnock read aloud. "Doria, daughter of Cygnus Black II and Violetta Bulstrode." He nodded, satisfied. "The blood confirms your claim of lineage. So he can claim the lordship?" Ted asked. "He can attempt it," Nagnock corrected. "Bloodline is only the first requirement. Next comes the family magic's acceptance, and then the inheritance trials." "Inheritance trials?" Harry squeaked, this being the first he'd heard of such a thing. "The Black Vaults contain certain tests for potential heirs," Andromeda explained gently. "They're designed to ensure the next Lord Black is worthy not just by blood but by character and magical ability." "But I barely know any magic," Harry protested. "The trials will adjust to your age and experience," Nagnock assured him, though his toothy grin didn't seem particularly reassuring. "They are ancient magic, designed to test essence rather than education." "Before we proceed," Andromeda interjected, "I wish to establish that, should Harry successfully claim the lordship, I will serve as his regent until he reaches 15, as is his right to appoint under the ancient lineage exception." Nagnock consulted his ledger again. As his closest magical relation currently in good standing, that arrangement would be acceptable under goblin law and wizarding tradition. He looked at Harry again. "Mr. Potter, do you consent to Mrs. Tonks serving as your regent should you become Lord Black?" "Yes," Harry said firmly. "I trust her." "Very well." Nagnock rose from his desk. "Then we shall proceed to the ritual chamber of inheritance. I must warn you that from this point, only those of black blood may accompany Mr. Potter. Mr. Tonks and young Miss Tonks must wait here." Ted squeezed Harry's shoulder reassuringly. "We'll be right here when you finish." "Good luck, Harry." "You'll smash it," Tonks added with a wink and an encouraging thumbs up. Andromeda and Harry followed Nagnock through a series of increasingly ancient corridors, descending deeper beneath Gringotts. The air grew cooler, and the modern lamps gave way to eternal magical flames in ancient sconces. Finally, they reached a set of black iron doors emblazoned with the Black family crest, stars surrounding a raven in flight. "Beyond these doors lies the Chamber of Inheritance," Nagnock announced solemnly. "Mrs. Tonks, as a daughter of the House of Black, you may enter but cannot intervene once the trials begin. Mr. Potter must face the tests alone." "I understand," Andromeda said, then knelt to look Harry in the eyes. "Remember, Harry, the magic will test your courage, your will, and your character. Be true to yourself. Don't try to be what you think a Black should be the Lord Black you believe the family needs." Harry nodded, his green eyes resolute despite his obvious nervousness. "I'm ready." Nagnock placed his palm against the doors, which recognized his status as account manager and swung open silently. The chamber beyond was circular, its walls lined with alcoves containing artifacts and portraits of stern-looking witches and wizards, past lords and ladies of the House of Black. In the center of the room stood a pedestal supporting a black velvet cushion, upon which rested a silver ring identical to the one from Harry's dream, the Black family signet. "The trials will begin when you approach the pedestal," Nagnok informed them. "Mrs. Tonks and I will observe from here." Harry took a deep breath and stepped forward into the chamber. The iron doors swung shut behind him with an ominous thud. As he approached the pedestal, the torches around the room flared higher, and the portraits seemed to awaken, their painted eyes following his progress. "Who approaches the legacy of the most ancient and noble House of Black?" demanded a voice from everywhere and nowhere. "Harry James Potter," Harry answered, his voice surprisingly steady. "Grandson of Doria Black Potter. A half-blood seeks our lordship." The voice sounded contemptuous. "What makes you worthy of the House of Toujours Per?" Harry straightened his shoulders, remembering Andromeda's advice. "I don't know if I am worthy yet. That's why I'm here, to find out, and to learn." A murmur ran through the portraits, some approving, others outraged. The magic in the room thickened, swirling around Harry like an investigating serpent. "Honest, at least," the voice conceded. "Let the trials commence." The room dissolved around Harry, replaced by a shadowy version of the Dursleys' living room. Uncle Vernon loomed before him, face purple with rage, belt raised to strike. "You'll always be nothing," the apparition of Vernon snarled. "A freak, unwanted, unloved." Harry's heart raced with instinctive fear, but then he remembered this wasn't real, it was a test. With effort, he squared his shoulders and faced the phantom Vernon. "You're wrong," he said clearly. "I am Harry James Potter. I am a wizard. And I am not nothing." The apparition shrieked in rage and swung the belt, but Harry stood his ground. The belt passed harmlessly through him, and Vernon's image dissolved into black smoke. The scene shifted again. This time, Harry found himself in what appeared to be a grand dining room. Around a long table sat wizards and witches in fine robes, all wearing the Black family crest. At the head of the table was an empty chair, clearly meant for him. "Come, take your place, Lord Black," a regal witch with steel-grey hair beckoned. "Together we shall purge the filth from our world and restore the rightful order. Muggles and mudbloods beneath our feet, as is proper." Harry approached the table cautiously. "What do you mean by, purge the filth?" he asked. The witch smiled coldly. "Those unworthy of magic, of course. The mudbloods who steal our power, the blood traders who dilute our strength. As Lord Black, you will lead us in cleansing our world of their taint." Harry thought of Andromeda, disowned for loving Ted. Of his own mother, who had been Muggle-born. Of the Dursleys, who had been cruel not because they were Muggles, but because they were cruel people. "No," he said firmly. "That's wrong. Magic isn't about blood purity. It's about who you are inside. What you do with your power." The assembled blacks hissed with displeasure. "Then you are no true Black," the witch snarled. "Maybe the blacks need to change," Harry countered, surprising himself with his boldness. "Maybe always pure should mean pure of heart and intention, not just blood." The dining room and its occupants dissolved into smoke, swirling around Harry before reshaping into a new scene. This time, he stood in a battlefield. Bodies lay scattered around him, wizards in dark robes and masks. Before him knelt a terrified man, wandless and pleading. "He is the enemy," a voice whispered in his ear. "He would kill you, given the chance. Strike first. Show your power. Show you are a true Black." Harry looked at the frightened man, then at his own hand, which now held a wand he didn't recognize. "No," Harry said, lowering the wand. "I won't hurt someone who can't defend themselves. That's not strength, that's cruelty." "He would not show you the same mercy," the voice insisted. "Then that's his choice," Harry replied. "This is mine." The battlefield dissolved, and Harry found himself back in the chamber, facing the pedestal with the black signet ring. The portraits around the room were silent now, watching intently. "You have faced the trials of fear, prejudice, and power," the disembodied voice announced. "You have shown courage in the face of old terrors, rejected the dogma of blood purity, and refused to abuse power over the defenseless. Unexpected choices for a black, yet perhaps precisely what the house requires in these changing times." The signet ring on the pedestal began to glow with silver light. "Approach, Harry James Potter, and claim your birthright, if the family magic will accept you." With steady steps, Harry approached the pedestal. The ring gleamed in the torchlight, the raven in its crest seeming almost alive. Following instinct, Harry extended his right hand and picked up the ring. It felt warm to his touch, almost alive. As he slid it onto the ring finger of his right hand, it adjusted its size to fit him perfectly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a surge of magic, ancient, powerful, and distinctly sentient, flowed from the ring into Harry's body. It coursed through his veins like liquid silver, testing, probing, judging, and accepting. The ring flashed brilliantly, and the crest changed subtly, the stars realigning into a new pattern, the raven's wings spreading wider as if in flight. Around the room, the portraits bowed their heads in acknowledgement. "The magic has accepted you," the voice declared, sounding faintly surprised. "Rise, Lord Harry James Potter Black, head of the most ancient and noble house of Black." The iron doors swung open. Andromeda and Nagnok stood waiting, both looking slightly stunned at the transformation. The Black family magic still swirled visibly around Harry, silver and green tendrils embracing him before settling into his skin like a new layer of protection. "It worked," Harry said, a little dazed himself. "The ring changed shape." "It adapted to you," Andromeda explained, her voice tinged with awe. "The family magic recognized you not just as a black by blood, but as a new type of black, a reformer, perhaps. This is unprecedented." Nagnok bowed low, a gesture Harry somehow knew was rarely offered to wizards. "Congratulations, Lord Black. If you will follow me, there are documents to sign and vaults to visit now that the family magic has accepted you." The next several hours passed in a whirlwind of activity. Harry, with Andromeda's guidance, signed numerous documents that officially recognized him as Lord Black and her as his regent until he turned 15. Nagnok provided a comprehensive accounting of the Black family holdings, multiple properties, business investments, and, most impressively, the family vaults. When they descended to the Black family main vault, Harry gasped at the mountains of gold, silver, and bronze coins, not to mention the shelves of artifacts, jewels, and ancient tomes. "This is all mine?" he asked incredulously. "Yours to manage responsibly," Andromeda corrected gently. "As regent, I'll help you learn how to handle the estate. The Black family wealth comes with responsibility, to the family magic, to your dependents, and to the wizarding world." They also visited the Potter family vault, which, while not as vast as the Black fortune, still contained considerable wealth and family heirlooms. Here, Harry found something that brought tears to his eyes, a photo album containing pictures of his parents, along with letters written in his mother's hand. "We'll bring these home," Andromeda promised softly. "You should know who they were." By the time they emerged from Gringotts, it was late afternoon. Ted and Tonks were waiting anxiously in the bank's lobby, both breaking into wide grins when they saw the signet ring on Harry's finger. "You did it!" Tonks exclaimed, her hair shifting to celebratory gold. "How do you feel, Lord Black?" "Weird," Harry admitted honestly. "Like I've got this, humming inside me now. The family magic, I think." "That's normal," Andromeda assured him. "It will settle as you adjust to it." "What now?" Ted asked, eyeing the crowds outside. Several people had already noticed their group emerging from the depths of Gringotts, and the distinctive black signet ring on Harry's hand was drawing curious looks. "Now we go home," Andromeda decided. "We've accomplished what we came for." The paperwork is filed, the magic has accepted Harry, and Nagnok will ensure the Ministry and Wisengamot are officially notified of the change in Lordship by morning. What about Dumbledore? Harry asked. He'd learned quite a bit about the headmaster's role in his placement with the Dursleys during their discussions with the goblins. He'll find out soon enough, Andromeda said grimly. But there's nothing he can do about it now. The Ancient Houses Act protects you from interference, and as your regent, I have full authority to determine your residence and upbringing. They made their way quickly through the leaky cauldron and back home via Floo, Harry managing the journey with more grace this time. Back at the Tonks cottage, they celebrated with a special dinner Ted had prepared, complete with a cake declaring, "Congratulations, Lord Harry," in color-changing frosting. As they ate, Andromeda outlined the immediate next steps. Tomorrow, we'll need to visit Ravensfield Manor, the main Black family residence that Harry saw in his dream. As Lord Black, Harry needs to renew the wards and formally claim the property. Will we live there instead of here? Harry asked, looking worried at the prospect of leaving the cozy cottage he'd just begun to think of as home. Not necessarily, Andromeda assured him. That's entirely up to you. As Lord Black, you own several properties, but you're under no obligation to live in any particular one. I like it here, Harry admitted. Then here you'll stay, Ted said firmly. Though we might want to visit your other properties occasionally, just to maintain them and check on the house elves. House elves? Harry asked, confused. Magical servants bound to wizarding families, Andromeda explained. The Black family has several. You'll meet them tomorrow. Don't worry, they're super useful, Tonks added. Just be nice to them. Some old families treat them terribly. The conversation turned to other aspects of Harry's new status, his seats on the Wisengamot that Andromeda would hold until he came of age, the businesses and investments she would manage, and the education he would need beyond what Hogwarts offered. Being lord of an ancient and noble house means understanding politics, finance, and family magic, Andromeda explained. I'll teach you everything my father taught me before I was disowned, and Ted can help with understanding the Muggle world too, something most pure-blood lords neglect entirely. It's a lot, Harry said, looking slightly overwhelmed. We'll take it one day at a time, Ted promised. And remember, you're still a kid. Lordship or not, you deserve a childhood. Later that evening, as Harry prepared for bed in his new room, there was a knock at his door. It was Andromeda, holding what looked like an official letter. This just arrived by Owl, she said, her expression serious. It seems Albus Dumbledore has discovered you're missing from Privet Drive. He's requested an emergency session of the Wisengamot tomorrow regarding your guardianship. Harry's heart sank. Can he take me away from you? No, Andromeda said firmly, sitting beside him on the bed. The Black Lordship protects you legally. But tomorrow will be your first political battle, Harry. Dumbledore is powerful and respected. He'll argue that your placement with the Dursleys was for your protection, and that your claiming of the Black Lordship is invalid due to your age. But the goblins said it was legal, Harry protested. It is. But Dumbledore has considerable influence. We'll need to be prepared. She squeezed his shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry too much. I was raised a Black, I know how to fight in the political arena. And we have truth on our side. Harry nodded, though anxiety still gnawed at him. Will I have to be there? Yes, I'm afraid so. As Lord Black, your presence is required, though as your regent, I'll do most of the talking. She handed him a small book. This is a primer on Wisengamot protocol. Read a bit before bed if you feel up to it, but don't stay up too late. Tomorrow will be a long day. After Andromeda left, Harry opened the book, but found his thoughts too jumbled to focus. Instead, he found himself staring at the black signet ring on his finger. The raven crest seemed to catch the light oddly, almost winking at him. On impulse, he whispered to it, "Help me be worthy of you." To his surprise, the ring warmed slightly on his finger, and he felt a gentle pulse of magic, neither approval nor disapproval, but acknowledgement. The family magic was listening. With that oddly comforting thought, Harry climbed into bed. As he drifted off to sleep, the black family magic flowed through him, continuing the process of integration that had begun in Gringotts. In his dreams, he walked the halls of Ravensfield Manor again, but this time the portraits greeted him by name and title. At the end of a different hallway, he found a study where a stern-looking older man sat behind a desk. "Grandfather Arcturus?" Harry asked, somehow knowing who this was. The figure inclined his head. "So you are the new Lord Black." "Not what I expected, but perhaps what the family needs. Listen well, young lord. Tomorrow you face your first challenge. Remember this, a black never explains, never apologizes, and never backs down when in the right." "But sir," Harry said hesitantly, "Andromeda says some of the black family beliefs were wrong." Arcturus's stern face softened slightly. "Times change, and families must change with them or perish. Your blood is mixed, yet the magic chose you. Perhaps it sees something I could not. But heed this, whatever path you choose for the family, walk it with conviction. Blacks are not followers, even of convention." Harry nodded, absorbing the advice. "I'll try to make you proud." "Make yourself proud first," Arcturus countered. "The dead have had their time. This is yours." The dream faded, and Harry slept deeply, the family magic continuing its work. In the room next door, Andromeda sat awake, writing letters to allies old and new, preparing for the battle to come. Tomorrow would mark Harry's formal introduction to Wizarding Society as Lord Black, and the beginning of a new chapter in magical Britain's history. Chapter 2, Shadows of Azkaban. Harry ducked as a hex whizzed over his head, slamming into the training room wall behind him. "Too slow," Andromeda called, already flicking her wand for another spell. "A proper black doesn't just dodge, they counter." Harry gritted his teeth and spun, his wand movement crisp as he'd practiced. Protego. The shield charm materialized just in time, deflecting Andromeda's stinging hex. Without pausing, Harry slashed his wand downward. Flipendo. Andromeda sidestepped with practiced grace, but Harry had anticipated this. Aguamenti. Water sprayed across the floor where she moved, and with a quick, glacius, he froze it. Andromeda slipped, momentarily losing her balance. Harry seized his chance. Expelliarmus. Her wand flew from her grasp into his waiting hand. Harry grinned triumphantly, breathing hard. "Better," Andromeda admitted, accepting her wand back. "Creative combination. Your father would have approved." 6 months had transformed Harry from the malnourished, timid boy rescued from Privet Drive into someone nearly unrecognizable. Still small for his age, but the nutrition potions had added inches to his height and healthy weight to his frame. Daily training had built muscle and reflexes, while lessons in everything from politics to finance to family magic filled his previously neglected mind. Ravensfield Manor's training room had become his second favorite place in the sprawling Black family estate, after the library. The walls lined with practice dummies and magical targets, the floor charmed to absorb falls without injury. Here, Harry learned to channel the Black family magic that now hummed constantly beneath his skin. That's enough physical training for today, Andromeda decided, casting cooling charms on both of them. You've got that meeting with the Goblins' investment team this afternoon, and Nymphadora's coming for dinner. Don't let her hear you call her that, Harry teased, wiping sweat from his brow. His relationship with Andromeda had evolved too, from cautious gratitude to genuine affection. She remained his regent and primary guardian, but had become something between aunt and mother figure as well. She'll survive, Andromeda sniffed, though her eyes twinkled. Go shower and change. Formal robes for the goblins, the dark green ones with the silver trim. Harry nodded and headed upstairs to his suite in the manor. Though they still lived primarily at the Tonks cottage, Ravensfield had become their weekend residence and training ground. The ancestral Black estate had recognized Harry immediately upon his first visit, the ancient wards falling and reforming around his magical signature as if eager for a new master. As Harry showered, he reflected on the whirlwind months since claiming the Black Lordship. The emergency Wizengamot session had been his baptism by fire into wizarding politics. Dumbledore had been formidable, arguing passionately that Harry's placement with blood relatives was essential for his protection. But Andromeda, armed with the Healer's Report and the unassailable legal precedent of the Ancient Houses Act, had countered masterfully. When she'd produced memories of Harry's cupboard and Uncle Vernon's abuse for the Wizengamot pensive, even Dumbledore's staunchest allies had fallen silent. The final blow came when Harry himself stood, the Black family ring gleaming on his finger, and addressed the assembly. The Black family magic has chosen me. Magic itself has judged me worthy of this responsibility. Will this body now claim to know better than magic? The vote had been decisive, 43-7 in favor of recognizing Harry's status and Andromeda's regency. Harry dried himself and dressed in the formal robes laid out by Mimsy, the elderly house elf who'd served Ravensfield for decades. The Black family crest was embroidered on the left breast, the fabric cut to accommodate his growing frame while maintaining the dignified appearance expected of a young lord. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called, adjusting the silver cufflinks shaped like ravens. Ted entered, holding a copy of the Daily Prophet. "Interesting news today. Thought you should see it before your meeting." Harry took the newspaper, scanning the headline, "Black Heir Challenge, Malfoy petitions Wizengamot on behalf of son, Lucius is finally making his move," Harry noted, unsurprised. They'd been expecting this. "Took him long enough," Ted agreed, leaning against the doorframe. 6 months of watching you consolidate power must have been killing him. Harry skimmed the article, which detailed Lucius Malfoy's petition challenging Harry's claim to the Black Lordship on the grounds that Draco Malfoy, through his mother Narcissa, had a stronger connection to the Black family's traditional values. "They're playing the pure-blood card," Harry observed. Ted nodded. "Andromeda expected that. But the family magic has already accepted you, that's nearly impossible to overturn. Still, we'll need to respond." Harry folded the paper. "I'll speak with Andy about it after the Goblin meeting." "Already working on it," Ted assured him. "And there's something else." He hesitated, his expression turning serious. "Nymphadora sent word from Auror Training. There's a rumor circulating in the DMLE about Sirius Black." Harry's attention sharpened. "What kind of rumor?" "Apparently, he's been asking about you. Ever since you claimed the Lordship, he's become more lucid. Started demanding to know how his godson ended up as Lord Black." A complex mix of emotions crossed Harry's face. His relationship with the idea of Sirius Black was complicated. On one hand, Sirius was his godfather, his parents' best friend. On the other, he was imprisoned for betraying them to Voldemort and murdering Peter Pettigrew plus 12 muggles. "Has anyone told him?" Harry asked. "Not officially," Ted said. "But prison guards talk. He knows. And according to Dora's source, he's not reacting how anyone expected." "How so?" "He's not angry about you taking the title. He's worried about you. Keeps asking if you're safe, if you're being treated well." Ted watched Harry carefully. "Makes you wonder, doesn't it?" It did. The inconsistency had bothered Harry from the moment Andromeda first explained his godfather's story. Why would someone betray their best friends, then show genuine concern for their orphan child years later? "We should," Harry began, but was interrupted by Mimsy popping into the room. "Master Harry, Mistress Andromeda says the flu will activate in 5 minutes for Gringotts. You is needing to come downstairs." "Thank you, Mimsy. Tell her I'm on my way." Harry turned back to Ted. "We'll discuss this more tonight." Ted nodded. "After dinner. Dora's bringing more information." 15 minutes later, Harry sat beside Andromeda in Nagnak's office at Gringotts, reviewing quarterly investment reports. The Black Fortune had grown considerably under their management, with strategic investments in both magical and Muggle enterprises. The technology sector in the Muggle world continues to outperform expectations, the Goblin investment manager reported. Your holdings in Microsoft and Apple have increased 23% since last quarter. Excellent, Andromeda noted. And the magical investments? The Potions Research Laboratory shows promising returns, and the partnership with Flourish and Blots for the new educational series has exceeded projections. Harry listened attentively, asking questions when appropriate. At 10 years old, he understood more about finance and investment than most adults, thanks to intensive tutoring and the practical education of managing the Black Potter combined estates. After the meeting concluded, Nagnok remained behind when the other goblins departed. Lord Black, I have sensitive information that may interest you, the goblin said, activating privacy wards around his office with a snap of his fingers. It concerns Lucius Malfoy's challenge. Harry exchanged glances with Andromeda. What information? Our sources indicate Malfoy has secured the support of 7 Wisengamot members through methods that, shall we say, fall outside the boundaries of strict legality. Bribery, Andromeda translated bluntly. Nagnok's sharp teeth gleamed in what passed for a goblin smile. Among other inducements. More concerning, however, is that he appears to be working with elements inside the Department of Mysteries. The unspeakables. Harry frowned. Why would they involve themselves in a Lordship challenge? That remains unclear, Nagnok admitted. But there have been unusual requests for access to records concerning Black family magic and inheritance protocols. Records that have been sealed for centuries. Andromeda's expression darkened. They're looking for a loophole. Some way to invalidate Harry's claim despite the family magic's acceptance. Precisely. Nagnok pushed a folder across the desk. This contains everything we know. Gringotts has a vested interest in maintaining the integrity of inheritance magic. If one ancient house can be manipulated, others become vulnerable. Harry accepted the folder. Thank you, Nagnok. The House of Black values your continued discretion and partnership. The goblin bowed his head slightly, a significant gesture of respect from his kind. If I may offer one additional piece of counsel, Lord Black. Please. Watch for unexpected moves in the coming Wisengamot session. Our intelligence suggests Malfoy intends to spring something dramatic. As they departed Gringotts, Harry and Andromeda remained silent until they'd reached the apparition point in a secluded corner of Diagon Alley. Side along? Andromeda asked, extending her arm. Harry shook his head. I'll meet you at home. I need to make a quick stop at Flourish and Blots. Andromeda raised an eyebrow. Alone? With Lucius potentially moving against you? The store's 100 yards away, and I'm not exactly inconspicuous these days. He gestured to his lordship ring. If anyone tried anything, half of Diagon Alley would witness it. Since claiming the Black Lordship, Harry had become something of a public figure, the boy who lived now also Lord Black, subject of endless speculation and gossip. The Daily Prophet ran a story about him at least weekly, and his appearances in public inevitably drew attention. Andromeda hesitated, then nodded. 10 minutes. Any longer and I'm coming to find you. Fair enough. Harry grinned. I just want to check if that book on magical transportation theory arrived. I have an idea about improving the flow network. Always with the ideas, Andromeda sighed, though pride shone in her eyes. 10 minutes, she repeated, before disapparating with a crack. Harry strode purposefully toward the bookshop, aware of the whispers and stares that followed him. He'd grown accustomed to them over the past 6 months, though they still made him uncomfortable. The boy who lived was famous enough, Lord Blackpotter was practically mythological. Inside Flourish and Blots, he headed straight for the special orders desk, greeting the clerk by name. Good afternoon, Mr. Nightshade. Did my order arrive? Lord Black. Indeed it did, just this morning. The elderly clerk retrieved a wrapped package from beneath the counter. An unusual request, if I may say so. Transcending barriers, magical communication across wards and restrictions isn't typical reading for a young wizard. Harry smiled politely. My interests are somewhat eclectic. Of course, of course. Nightshade slid the package across the counter. Will there be anything else today? Just this, thank you. Harry paid and tucked the book into his robes, turning to leave. He nearly collided with Draco Malfoy. The blonde boy stood blocking the aisle, flanked by two larger boys Harry didn't recognize. Draco's pointed face wore a practiced sneer, but his eyes revealed uncertainty. Potter, he said coldly. Malfoy, Harry replied evenly. Or should I say, cousin? Your mother was a black before marriage, after all. Draco's pale cheeks flushed slightly. A proper black, unlike some who claim the name. Harry sighed. He'd been expecting this confrontation eventually, though he'd hoped it wouldn't be in public. Is there something I can help you with, or did you just come to deliver your father's talking points? The barb struck home, Draco's flush deepened. My father says the Wizengamot will correct this travesty. The Black Lordship belongs to those who uphold its true values, not half-bloods raised by blood traders. Rather than anger, Harry felt a strange pity. Draco was just parroting what he'd been taught, without understanding the realities of family magic. The Lordship isn't something you claim, Draco. It's something that claims you. Harry held up his hand, showing the black signet ring. The family magic chose me. It judged me worthy. If your father understood anything about ancient houses, he'd know that can't be overturned by political maneuvering. For a moment, genuine curiosity replaced the hostility in Draco's eyes. How did you do it? Father said the family magic would never accept someone like you. Someone like me? Harry raised an eyebrow. With a black grandmother and Potter determination? Or someone who thinks family magic is about more than blood purity? Before Draco could respond, a smooth voice cut in from behind him. An interesting perspective, Lord Black. Lucius Malfoy appeared, resting a hand on his son's shoulder. Tall, aristocratic, with long platinum hair and cold gray eyes, he radiated cultured menace. Mr. Malfoy, Harry acknowledged with a slight nod, respectful but not deferential, as Andromeda had coached him. I was just discussing inheritance magic with your son. Indeed. Lucius's lips curved in a smile that didn't reach his eyes. A fascinating subject, particularly when unusual circumstances arise. Such as a half-blood child claiming one of the most ancient pure-blood lordships through a distant grandmother. Distant but direct, Harry corrected mildly. And blood is only part of the equation, as I'm sure you know. Family magic seeks worthiness in many forms. How philosophical. Lucius's voice dripped disdain. Youth often embraces such progressive interpretations. The Wizengamot, however, tends to respect tradition. As do I. Harry met the man's gaze steadily. The oldest tradition of all, that magic itself decides who is worthy to wield it. Or would you argue that wizards know better than magic itself, Mr. Malfoy? A flicker of annoyance crossed Lucius's face. Clearly, he hadn't expected such composure from a 10-year-old. We shall see what prevails, Lord Black, tradition or innovation. Lucius placed subtle emphasis on Harry's title, making it sound almost like mockery. The session next week should prove enlightening. I look forward to it. Harry glanced pointedly at his watch. Now if you'll excuse me, my regent is expecting me. He stepped around the Malfoys with a courteous nod. As he reached the door, Lucius called after him. One moment, Lord Black. Harry paused, turning back. I understand you've been making inquiries about your godfather. Lucius's smile turned predatory. Curious, isn't it, how family connections persist despite unfortunate choices? The implication was clear, Sirius's betrayal reflected on Harry's judgment. Family is complex, Mr. Malfoy, Harry replied evenly. As someone who serves a master who disappeared years ago, I'm sure you understand that. The barb struck home, Lucius's knuckles whitened on his walking stick. Harry used the moment to exit the shop, his heart pounding despite his outward calm. That last exchange had been risky, openly referencing Lucius's Death Eater past. But Andromeda had taught him a fundamental rule of political combat: sometimes you needed to show your teeth. Outside, Harry ducked into an alley and took several deep breaths. Then he closed his eyes, concentrated on Ravensfield Manor's apparition point, and turned on the spot. The crushing sensation of apparition squeezed him briefly before he reappeared with a soft pop at the edge of Ravensfield's gardens. Despite months of practice, he still stumbled slightly on landing. Andromeda rushed from the terrace, wand drawn. "Harry! Are you all right? You're nearly 5 minutes late." "I'm fine," he assured her, steadying himself. "Just ran into the Malfoys at Flourish and Blots." Her expression darkened. "Both of them? What happened?" As they walked toward the house, Harry recounted the confrontation, including his parting shot about Voldemort. Andromeda winced. "Bold, but dangerous. Lucius isn't someone to antagonize lightly." "He started it," Harry pointed out. "Bringing up Sirius that way." "True." Andromeda sighed. "Speaking of your godfather, we need to talk. Ted mentioned the rumors." Harry nodded. "Dora's bringing more information tonight." "Yes, but there's something else you should know before then." Andromeda led him to her study, closing the door before continuing. "I received a letter this morning. From Azkaban." Harry's eyes widened. "From Sirius?" "Not directly. From Warden Halloway, who oversees the high-security wing. Apparently, Sirius has become increasingly agitated, demanding to know about your welfare. He's lucid enough now to invoke his right as your godfather to inquire about your status." "What did the warden tell him?" "Nothing yet. He contacted me as your regent to ask how I wish to proceed." Andromeda sat behind her desk, fingers steepled. "This puts us in an interesting position." "How so?" "Sirius was never given a trial." At Harry's shocked expression, she nodded grimly. "It was wartime. Barty Crouch Sr. was sending suspected Death Eaters to Azkaban without full Wizengamot trials. The evidence against Sirius seemed overwhelming, and with your parents dead and you sent to Muggle relatives, no one challenged the process." Harry sank into a chair, processing this. "So my godfather has been in Azkaban for 9 years without a trial? Is that even legal?" "Technically, yes, under the Emergency Powers Act that was in effect after Voldemort's fall. Morally and ethically?" She shook her head. "It's a travesty. One of many from that period. What are our options?" "As Lord Black, you could formally request information about Sirius as a member of your house. Even petition for a proper trial. But that would put you in direct opposition to the Ministry, which has spent nearly a decade insisting Sirius is guilty." "What do you think?" Harry asked. "About his guilt, I mean." Andromeda's expression softened. "Sirius worshipped your father. They were like brothers. I find it difficult to believe he would betray James and Lily. But the evidence. The murders in the street, Harry supplied. Pettigrew and the Muggles. Yes. And his apparent confession, witnesses reported he kept saying, 'I killed them,' when Aurors arrived." She sighed heavily. "But without a trial, without questioning under Veritaserum or examination of memories, we can't know for certain." Harry stood and paced the study, the black family magic churning within him as he considered the implications. "If he's innocent, that means whoever really betrayed my parents is still free." "Yes. And if he's guilty?" Harry's voice hardened. "Then he deserves every moment in that cell." "Also yes. We need to know," Harry decided, turning to face Andromeda. One way or another. Not just for me, or for him, but for my parents. They deserve justice, real justice, not expedient assumptions. Pride gleamed in Andromeda's eyes. I was hoping you'd say that. I've drafted a formal request for the Wizengamot, invoking your rights as Lord Black to receive a full accounting of the case against Sirius and petitioning for a proper trial. When can we file it? After we deal with the Malfoy challenge, Andromeda cautioned. We can't fight on too many fronts at once. Let's secure your position first, then tackle Sirius's situation. Harry nodded reluctantly. That makes sense. But I want to respond to the Warden. Sirius deserves to know I'm safe, at least. I agree. Andromeda handed him a piece of parchment. Draft your response. I'll review it before we send it. Harry sat at the desk, quill poised over parchment, struggling with what to say to the Godfather he couldn't remember. Finally, he wrote, Warden Holloway, thank you for your inquiry regarding Sirius Black's concerns about my welfare. Please inform my godfather that I am safe, healthy, and thriving under the guardianship of his cousin Andromeda Tonks, née Black, who serves as my regent for the Black and Potter estates. I would appreciate if you would also tell him that I have recently learned he never received a proper trial, and that once certain pressing matters are resolved, I intend to petition the Wizengamot to rectify this oversight. I neither condemn nor absolve him of the charges against him. Justice requires a fair hearing of evidence, which he has been denied. As Lord Black, I intend to ensure all members of my house receive the due process guaranteed by wizarding law. Respectfully, Harry James Potter Black, Lord of the most ancient and noble house of Black. Andromeda read it over, eyebrows rising slightly. Quite formal. And politically adept, you're not taking sides, just advocating for proper process. It felt right, Harry said simply. It is right, she assured him, adding her signature as regent beneath his own. I'll have this sent immediately. 3 days later, Harry stood on the dais in the Wizengamot chamber, Andromeda at his side, facing 50 members of magical Britain's highest legislative and judicial body. His formal robes, black with silver and green accents, marked him as Lord Black, while the Potter family crest was displayed on a smaller pin over his heart. Chief Warlock Dumbledore presided from the central seat, his relationship with Harry having evolved into a cautious, formal cordiality since their confrontation over the Dursleys. The elderly wizard had eventually acknowledged, privately to Andromeda, that he had gravely misjudged the situation at Privet Drive, though he maintained his concerns about Harry's safety without the blood wards. Lords and ladies of the Wizengamot, Dumbledore announced, his magically amplified voice filling the chamber, we convene today to hear the petition of Lucius Malfoy, representing his son Draco Lucius Malfoy, challenging the claim of Harry James Potter to the lordship of the most ancient and noble house of Black. Lord Malfoy, you may present your case. Lucius rose from his seat, resplendent in expensive robes of dark blue with silver embroidery. Honored members of the Wizengamot, I come before you today not out of personal ambition, but out of concern for one of our oldest magical traditions, the proper succession of ancient and noble houses. He moved to the center of the floor, commanding attention with practiced ease. The House of Black has stood for centuries as a pillar of wizarding tradition, upholding the values of blood purity and magical heritage that have preserved our society. Yet today, this esteemed house finds its lordship claimed by a half-blood child with only a single black grandparent, raised entirely outside our traditions until mere months ago. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Lucius continued, voice strengthening. My son Draco, through his mother Narcissa Malfoy née Black, represents a direct, legitimate connection to the Black family's true lineage and values. He has been raised from birth to understand and uphold the traditions of ancient pure-blood houses. I submit that his claim to the Black lordship, when he comes of age, is more legitimate by blood, by tradition, and by proper magical heritage. Harry remained impassive, though inside, his anger simmered. The emphasis on proper magical heritage was a thinly veiled slur against his muggle-born mother. Lucius turned slightly, gesturing toward Harry. I mean no disrespect to young Mr. Potter, who has already secured his place in wizarding history through no action of his own. But lordship of an ancient and noble house is not a matter of celebrity or convenient timing. It is a sacred trust, passing through blood and magic to those most qualified to uphold its legacy. After elaborating further on Draco's suitability and the unprecedented irregularity of Harry's claim, Lucius finally reached his conclusion. I therefore petition this august body to review and, if appropriate, overturn the registration of Harry James Potter as Lord Black, preserving the lordship in abeyance until a more appropriate heir, specifically my son Draco, reaches the age of majority. Dumbledore nodded as Lucius returned to his seat. Thank you, Lord Malfoy. Regent Tonks, do you wish to respond on behalf of Lord Black? Andromeda stepped forward, her black family features prominent in her perfectly controlled expression. Indeed, Chief Warlock. With your permission, Lord Black wishes to address the Wizengamot directly. Surprised murmurs swept the chamber. A 10-year-old addressing the Wizengamot was unprecedented. Dumbledore's eyebrows rose slightly. If Lord Black wishes to speak, he may do so. Harry stepped forward, the family magic humming beneath his skin. Andromeda and Ted had coached him extensively for this moment, but the words he spoke now were entirely his own. Honored members of the Wizengamot, he began, his voice clear and steady despite his youth, I stand before you today not just as Harry Potter, but as the chosen heir of the Black family magic itself. He held up his hand, displaying the signet ring. This ring was not given to me by any person. It was not inherited through technicalities or legal maneuverings. It was bestowed upon me by the ancestral magic of the House of Black, which tested me in ways I cannot fully describe and found me worthy. Harry moved slowly around the circular floor, making eye contact with various members. Lord Malfoy speaks of blood and tradition. I respect both. But he omits the most fundamental aspect of magical inheritance, the will of magic itself. He gestured to several of the oldest members. The most ancient houses among you, Longbottom, Bones, Greengrass, Abbott, all recognize a truth that predates our laws and customs: family magic chooses its vessel. It cannot be coerced, manipulated, or redirected by political pressure or personal preference. Harry paused, letting his words sink in, before continuing with subtle emphasis. If the Wizengamot rules today that it has the power to override the judgment of ancestral magic itself, what precedent does that establish? Whose family magic might be next to fall under political control? The implication wasn't lost on the older houses. Several members shifted uncomfortably. I do not stand before you claiming the Black Lordship is mine by right of achievement or personal merit, Harry acknowledged. I am still learning what it means to lead an ancient and noble house. But I stand before you wearing the signet ring that no amount of legal maneuvering can remove from my finger, because magic itself placed it there. He turned directly to Lucius. Lord Malfoy questions my blood connection through my grandmother Doria. Yet he proposes his son's claim through his wife Narcissa, an identical degree of relation. The difference, he suggests, lies in upbringing and values. Harry's voice remained even, but took on a subtle edge. The Black family motto is, toujours pur, always pure. Lord Malfoy interprets this solely as blood purity. But what if the family magic itself has chosen a different interpretation? What if it seeks purity of intent, of character, of magical potential? He returned to the center of the floor. I do not ask this body to affirm my claim based on my words today. I ask only that you respect the judgment already rendered by powers older and deeper than our laws, the ancestral magic that has guided magical Britain since before the Wizengamot existed. With a final glance around the chamber, Harry concluded. The Black family magic has spoken. I respectfully suggest this body should listen. As Harry returned to Andromeda's side, the chamber erupted in whispers and murmured conversations. Dumbledore tapped his wand for order. Thank you, Lord Black. Does Regent Tonks wish to add anything further? Andromeda stepped forward again. Only this, Chief Warlock. As evidence of the family magic's choice, I submit these memory vials containing records of Lord Black's inheritance trial at Gringotts, witnessed by myself and account manager Nagnok. The family magic's acceptance was unambiguous and, according to the goblins, stronger than any seen in 3 generations of Black Lords. She handed the vials to the court assistant, who delivered them to Dumbledore. These will be viewed by a select committee before deliberation, Dumbledore announced. Does Lord Malfoy wish to offer rebuttal? Lucius stood again. Merely an observation, Chief Warlock. While I do not dispute that Mr. Potter possesses the black signet ring, we have only Regent Tonks's word regarding the circumstances of its acquisition. As another disowned member of the Black family, her testimony regarding the family magic may be compromised. Before Andromeda could respond, a voice rang out from the gallery. Then perhaps you'd accept the word of the Black family magic itself, Lucius? All heads turned toward the speaker, an elderly witch with aristocratic features and streaks of white in her otherwise black hair, leaning on an ebony cane topped with a silver raven. Great Aunt Cassiopeia, Andromeda breathed, shocked. Cassiopeia Black, reclusive elder of the family who had not been seen in public for nearly a decade, made her way down to the Wizengamot floor. Guards moved to intercept her, but Dumbledore waved them back. Lady Cassiopeia, he acknowledged with a respectful nod. The Wizengamot recognizes your right to speak on matters concerning the House of Black. Cassiopeia fixed Lucius with a withering stare. Imagine my surprise, Lucius, when I learned you presumed to speak for Black family traditions while challenging the family magic's own choice. She turned to survey the Wizengamot. I have lived nearly a century as a daughter of the House of Black. I have witnessed 3 lordship transitions. Never, not once, has the family magic been overruled by external forces. She approached Harry, studying him intently. Hold out your hand, boy. Harry extended his right hand, displaying the signet ring. Cassiopeia grasped his wrist, murmuring an incantation. The ring glowed brilliantly, and tendrils of silver-green magic swirled around their joined hands. The magic answers him, she announced to the chamber. Fully and without reservation. This has not occurred in my lifetime. She released Harry's hand and turned back to the assembly. Whether you approve of the family magic's choice is irrelevant. It has been made. To challenge it is to challenge the very foundations of magical inheritance. With that pronouncement, she nodded once to Andromeda, gave Harry a look that might have contained the ghost of approval, and returned to her seat in the gallery. The dramatic intervention left Lucius visibly fuming but strategically cornered. Even with his allies, he couldn't openly contradict one of the oldest living Blacks on matters of family magic. Dumbledore allowed a brief recess for deliberation, during which Harry and Andromeda retreated to a small antechamber. Great Aunt Cassiopeia, Andromeda marveled, still stunned. I haven't seen her since before I was disowned. I had no idea she was even following these proceedings. She seemed intimidating, Harry offered. Andromeda laughed. That's putting it mildly. Cassiopeia never married, dedicated her life to magical research and family history. She's forgotten more about Black family magic than most ever knew. She squeezed Harry's shoulder. Her intervention may have just won this for us. When the session resumed, the vote was decisive, 39-11 in favor of rejecting the Malfoy petition and affirming Harry's status. Dumbledore officially pronounced, "This body finds that the magical inheritance of the House of Black has been properly transferred to Harry James Potter, now Potter Black, and recognizes him as the rightful Lord Black, with Andromeda Tonks serving as regent until he reaches the age of 15. So mote it be." A flash of magic sealed the proclamation. Harry felt the Black family magic surge in response, as if pleased by the formal recognition. Lucius Malfoy's face was a mask of controlled fury as he and his allies departed. Harry caught Draco watching him with an odd expression, part resentment, part curiosity. As they prepared to leave, Cassiopeia Black approached them. "Nephew," she acknowledged Harry with a slight nod. "You spoke well. Perhaps there's hope for the family yet." Thank you for your support, Great Aunt, Harry replied formally. Her stern features softened marginally. It wasn't for you, boy. It was for the family magic. But perhaps they're becoming the same thing. She turned to Andromeda. You've done well with him so far. He'll need proper instruction in the family grimoires. I've been teaching him what I remember, Andromeda admitted. But my access to the family libraries was limited after my marriage. Come to Corvus Hall next Saturday, Cassiopeia instructed. Both of you. There are things the boy should know if he's to be Lord Black in more than just name. Without waiting for a response, she swept away, her cane tapping sharply against the marble floor. Did we just get summoned for tea with the family dragon? Harry whispered. Worse, Andromeda replied, eyes twinkling. We got summoned for lessons. Later that evening, Harry, Andromeda, Ted, and Nymphadora gathered in the Tonks' living room to celebrate their victory and discuss next steps. Nymphadora, home for the weekend from Auror training, had colored her hair black with a silver streak in honor of the occasion. To Lord Black, officially confirmed. Ted raised his butterbeer. And to Great Aunt Cassiopeia's impeccable timing, Andromeda added with a laugh. And to Malfoy's face when she called him out, Tonks cackled, morphing her features briefly into an exaggerated version of Lucius's outrage. Harry grinned, basking in the warm atmosphere of family celebration. These moments still felt precious and slightly surreal after his years with the Dursleys. Now that the Malfoy challenge is handled, we need to discuss Sirius, Andromeda said, turning serious. Dora, what have you learned? Tonks set down her butterbeer, her hair shifting to a more subdued blue. Right. So I've been asking around cautiously, using my metamorphmagus abilities to blend in during different shifts. The guards talk more freely when they think you're part of the regular rotation. She pulled out a small notebook. Sirius has definitely changed in the past 6 months. Before Harry claimed the Lordship, he was like most long-term Azkaban prisoners, mostly unresponsive, occasional mutterings, caught in his own mind. But since January, he's become increasingly lucid. The family magic, Andromeda murmured. When Harry claimed the Lordship, it would have affected all Blacks with active magical connections to the family. Even in Azkaban. Tonks nodded. That tracks with what the guards report. At first, he just kept repeating Harry and Lordship like he was trying to understand something. Then he started asking questions, coherent questions, about Harry's welfare, his guardianship, how he could have claimed the Black Lordship. Has he mentioned anything about his crimes? Ted asked carefully. That's the interesting bit. Tonks leaned forward. According to the most senior guard I spoke with, Sirius has always maintained the same thing, even in his worst moments. I didn't kill them and Peter betrayed us. Peter Pettigrew, Harry clarified. The friend he supposedly murdered. Right. Tonks flipped a page in her notebook. I also managed to get a look at the original arrest records. They're sparse. No transcript of an interrogation, no list of evidence beyond witness statements about the explosion, no record of a wand examination. Because there was no trial, Andromeda said grimly. Exactly. Tonks closed her notebook. It's like they just threw him in Azkaban and tossed away the key. Barty Crouch Sr. signed the imprisonment order as head of the DMLE, but there's no corresponding Wisengamot judgment. Harry frowned, troubled by these revelations. So we definitely need to push for a trial. But first, I want to talk to him directly. That won't be easy, Andromeda cautioned. Azkaban doesn't allow visitors to high-security prisoners except under extraordinary circumstances. What about the book you bought? Ted asked Harry. The one about magical communication across wards. Harry nodded, retrieving the book from his room. I've been studying it. There's a section on modified two-way mirrors that might work across Azkaban's wards if we can get one to Sirius. And how exactly would we do that? Andromeda asked skeptically. Tonks grinned mischievously. Leave that to me. I've got training rotations at Azkaban coming up next month. If you can prepare the mirror, I might be able to slip it to him during an inspection. That's risky, Ted warned. If you're caught smuggling items to prisoners, I know. Career over, possible charges. Tonks shrugged. But if he's innocent? If Harry's godfather has been wrongfully imprisoned for 9 years? Worth it. Harry hesitated. I don't want you risking your career, Tonks. My choice, Squirt. She ruffled his hair affectionately. Besides, technically I'd just be facilitating communication between a lord of an ancient and noble house and a member of his family. There's probably some obscure law that makes it almost legal. There isn't, Andromeda said dryly. But I appreciate the sentiment. What about checking Pettigrew's death? Ted suggested. If there's any question about whether Sirius actually killed him. According to the records, they only found a finger, Tonks confirmed. The rest was supposedly destroyed in the explosion. A finger? Harry frowned. Just one finger. That's convenient. My thoughts exactly, Tonks agreed. Especially for a wizard accused of blowing up a street with enough force to kill 12 people and create a crater. Seems odd that one specific body part would remain intact. The implications hung in the air. If Pettigrew had somehow survived, if he had framed Sirius. We need more information, Andromeda decided. Harry, work on the mirror communication. Nymphadora, see what else you can discover about the original case. I'll prepare the formal petition for a trial review, to be filed after we've gathered more evidence. What about Great Aunt Cassiopeia? Harry asked. Could she help? Andromeda considered this. Possibly. The Blacks would have conducted their own investigation at the time, regardless of the Ministry's proceedings. Cassiopeia might have access to those records. We can ask when we visit next weekend. There's one more place we should check, Harry said suddenly. Sirius's house in London. The Black family residence. Grimmauld Place, Andromeda nodded. It's been sealed since my Aunt Walburga died, but as Lord Black, you can access it. Charming location, Tonks muttered. Went there once as a kid before Mum was disowned. Creepiest house I've ever seen. Nevertheless, it might contain information, Ted pointed out. Family records, correspondence, maybe even evidence the Ministry never discovered. We'll go tomorrow, Harry decided. Just Andy and me, since we're the only ones with black blood to handle whatever wards or enchantments might be active. The plan set, they moved on to lighter topics for the remainder of the evening. Yet Harry's thoughts kept returning to Sirius, the godfather he couldn't remember, possibly innocent, wasting away in the worst prison in the wizarding world while the real traitor walked free. The Black family magic stirred within him, resonating with his determination to uncover the truth. Justice for Sirius wasn't just a moral obligation, it was becoming a matter of family honor. Number 12 Grimmauld Place materialized between numbers 11 and 13 as Harry and Andromeda approached, the Fidelius charm recognizing their black blood. The townhouse looked neglected from the outside, windows grimy, paint peeling, an air of malevolent abandonment hanging over it. Cheery place, Harry muttered as they climbed the worn stone steps. The London Blacks weren't known for their warmth, Andromeda replied dryly. Be prepared, it's likely much worse inside. The house has been sealed for years with only a house elf for maintenance, and Creature was half mad even when Aunt Walburga was alive. The front door recognized Harry's lordship ring, unlocking with a series of metallic clicks and the slithering of chains. It swung open with an ominous creak, revealing a dark hallway beyond. Lumos, Harry and Andromeda cast simultaneously, their wand tips illuminating a grim scene. The entrance hall was thick with dust and cobwebs. Gas lamps sputtered reluctantly to life, casting eerie shadows across peeling wallpaper and tarnished picture frames. A troll-leg umbrella stand lay overturned near the door, and heavy velvet curtains concealed something on the wall opposite. Homey, Harry commented, stepping cautiously inside. A sudden crack made them both jump, wands raised defensively. A decrepit house elf had appeared, stooped with age, wearing a filthy rag around his middle. He glared at them with bloodshot eyes. "Intruders in the House of Black," he muttered, not quite addressing them directly. "What would poor mistress say? Blood traitors and half-bloods defiling the noble house." "Creature," Andromeda said firmly. "You will show proper respect to Lord Black." The elf's eyes widened, focusing on Harry's ring. "A new master?" "No, cannot be. The boy is not proper black, not pure." Harry stepped forward. "Creature, I am Harry James Potter Black, Lord of the House of Black. I claim this house and command your service." The family magic surged through him as he spoke, reinforcing his authority. Creature visibly struggled against the compulsion to obey, his body twitching as he fought the magic binding him to the family. "The ring," he croaked finally, dropping into a reluctant bow. "The ring recognizes him, so Creature must serve." "What does the half-blood master require of Creature?" "First, respect," Harry said firmly. "No more half-blood or insulting my blood status or Andromeda's. Second, information about Sirius Black." At the mention of Sirius, Creature's face contorted with loathing. "The blood traitor. The one who broke Mistress's heart. Ran away to live with blood traitor Potters, disgraced the family name." "But did he betray the Potters to Voldemort?" Harry pressed. "Did he give up my parents to be murdered?" Creature seemed confused by the question. "Master Sirius hated the Dark Lord. Refused to serve, fought against the Dark Lord's followers. Broke Mistress's heart. He trailed off, muttering again." "Creature," Andromeda interjected, "when was the last time you saw Sirius?" "The blood traitor never returned after he ran away," Creature answered. "Good riddance," Mistress said. "Burned him off the tapestry herself." This confirmed what they already knew. Sirius had left Grimmauld Place as a teenager to live with the Potters, years before James and Lily's murders. "Take us to Sirius's room," Harry instructed. Creature led them reluctantly up several flights of stairs to a door bearing a nameplate reading, Sirius. The elf hadn't been inside in years, claiming Mistress had forbidden it after Sirius ran away. The room was a teenage rebel's statement against pure-blood ideology. Gryffindor banners and colors covered the walls, along with Muggle motorcycles and bikini-clad women, clearly chosen to scandalize his parents. Most interestingly, a large photo displayed 4 teenage boys with their arms around each other, laughing. "The Marauders," Andromeda identified, voice soft with remembrance. "James, Sirius, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew." Harry studied the photo intently, seeing his father for the first time, tall, with the same untamable hair and glasses, grinning as he ruffled Sirius's hair. Beside them stood a scarred, thoughtful-looking boy and a shorter, rounder youth with watery eyes and a nervous smile. "Pettigrew doesn't look like much," Harry observed. "Hard to imagine him as a master spy or murderer." "That's often the case with the most dangerous traitors," Andromeda noted. "They're underestimated." They searched the room thoroughly, finding school mementos, correspondence between the Marauders, though nothing incriminating about Pettigrew, and eventually a locked box under a floorboard that the Lordship ring opened. Inside lay several items, a small hand mirror with "James" scratched on the back, a motorcycle key, and a sealed letter addressed to Padfoot in a feminine hand. Lily's handwriting, Andromeda identified, examining the letter without opening it. Dated October 1981, just days before. "Before they died," Harry finished. He held the mirror curiously. "This looks like it might be a two-way mirror." The book mentioned them, magical devices that allow communication between paired mirrors. "James would have had the twin," Andromeda agreed. "This might be exactly what we need for your communication idea." They continued searching the house, finding the family library, filled with dark texts that made Andromeda insist on screening before Harry could read them, the drawing room with its massive family tapestry, Harry's name now prominently displayed with the Lordship symbol beside it, and various family artifacts of questionable legality. In the study that had belonged to Orion Black, Sirius's father, they discovered a locked cabinet that again yielded to Harry's ring. Inside lay meticulously organized family records, including a folder labeled Sirius Orion Black, Investigation. "My uncle was nothing if not thorough," Andromeda murmured as they examined the contents. He didn't believe Sirius was guilty either. The file contained Orion's personal investigation into his son's case, witness statements he'd collected independently, transaction records showing no unusual financial activity from Sirius before the Potters' deaths, and most significantly, a copy of James and Lily Potter's will that named Sirius as Harry's guardian and explicitly stated, "Sirius Black was not our secret keeper. We changed to Peter Pettigrew at the last moment as a precaution." "This is it," Harry breathed, staring at the document. "Proof he didn't betray them." "Evidence, certainly," Andromeda agreed. "But the will was apparently never executed. Dumbledore had you placed with the Dursleys before anyone could challenge it. Why wouldn't Orion have presented this to the Ministry?" Harry wondered. Andromeda's expression darkened. "Look at the date on his notes. November 10, 1981. And here," she pointed to a death notice clipped to the back of the file. "Orion Black died November 11, 1981. One day after compiling this evidence. Coincidence?" Harry asked skeptically. "Perhaps. He was ill. But the timing." She shook her head. After Orion's death, Walburga would have been too consumed by grief and madness to pursue it, especially for a son she'd disowned. They copied the will and Orion's notes, carefully replacing the originals. As they prepared to leave, Harry turned to Creature. "Creature, I want this house cleaned and made habitable again. Not for me to live in immediately, but I may need to use it in the future." The elf looked scandalized. "Master wishes to change Mistress's house. Your mistress is dead, Creature. I'm your master now." Harry softened his tone. "I don't want to dishonor the Black family history, but this house should be a home, not a tomb. Can you make it livable again?" Creature struggled visibly between ingrained loyalty to Walburga and the compulsion to obey his new master. Finally, he bowed stiffly. "Creature will try, Master." "Good. And Creature, if you find anything related to Sirius or Peter Pettigrew in this house, anything at all, you're to notify me immediately." As they left Grimmauld Place, Harry felt a new determination hardening within him. The evidence of Sirius's possible innocence, combined with the Ministry's failure to provide a fair trial, demanded action. "We need to accelerate our timeline," he told Andromeda as they walked toward the apparition point. "The mirror communication, the petition for a trial, everything." Andromeda nodded, her own expression resolute. "Agreed. I'll file the petition tomorrow. With the will as evidence, they can't simply dismiss it." Neither noticed the cloaked figure watching them from the shadow of a nearby building, nor the soft pop of disapparition that followed their departure. The following week brought both progress and complication. Andromeda filed the petition for a review of Sirius's case, attaching copies of the previously unexecuted will and Orion Black's investigation. The Ministry, predictably, dragged its feet, citing procedural reviews and jurisdictional questions that seemed designed to delay indefinitely. Meanwhile, Harry worked on the communication mirrors, using Sirius's mirror as a base to create a new paired set with enhanced features to penetrate Azkaban's wards. The magic was complex, requiring precision and power, but the Black family magic seemed to flow through him with unusual strength when working with family artifacts. Their visit to Cassiopeia Black proved unexpectedly productive. The formidable witch, while maintaining her stern demeanor, provided valuable instruction in obscure branches of family magic and, more importantly, access to historical records that mentioned cases of falsified deaths in wizarding history, including methods for a wizard to fake his own death while framing another. Pettigrew, Harry realized, examining one such account from 1738. If he was an animagus like Sirius told the Aurors, He could have transformed after cutting off his finger, escaping through the sewers while the explosion covered his tracks. Possible, Cassiopeia acknowledged. Though unregistered animagi are rare. The magical discipline required is considerable. But if they managed it as students? Andromeda mused, recalling stories of the Marauder's legendary pranks and abilities. The most significant development, however, came from an unexpected source. 3 days after their Grimald Place visit, Nymphadora burst into the Tonks cottage during dinner, her hair cycling through alarmed colors. "We've got trouble," she announced without preamble. "Someone tried to access Azkaban's high-security wing last night. They were after Sirius." "What?" Andromeda set down her fork. "Who?" "Unknown." Tonks ran a hand through her now red hair. "They didn't succeed, Azkaban's defenses repelled them, but security's been doubled. My training rotation there has been cancelled, which means our mirror plan is temporarily grounded." "An assassination attempt?" Ted suggested grimly. "Or a rescue," Harry countered. "Though who would try to rescue Sirius after all this time?" "That's not all." Tonks lowered her voice. "Scrimgeour called me into his office today. Asked me directly if I knew anything about recent inquiries into the Black case, and whether my family connections were influencing my training." Andromeda's eyes narrowed. "He suspects your involvement." "More like fishing," Tonks corrected. "But yeah, they've noticed the petition and our investigations. Someone's rattled enough to report it up the chain. We need to move faster," Harry decided. "If we can't get the mirror to Sirius yet, we need another approach. Something more direct." A familiar gleam appeared in Andromeda's eye, the look of a Black plotting something audacious. "Perhaps it's time to leverage your political capital, Lord Black. The Wizengamot summer session begins next week. What if the boy who lived made a public appeal for justice?" The resulting plan was bold, potentially risky, but leveraged Harry's unique position. As lord of an ancient and noble house, he had the right to address the Wizengamot during open sessions. As the boy who lived, his words carried weight with the public. And as Sirius Black's legal head of house, he had standing to demand answers about a family member's imprisonment. The opportunity came during the Wizengamot's budget review session, a typically dry affair that few members of the public attended. Harry, in formal black robes with the Potter crest displayed prominently, requested the floor during the public comment period. Dumbledore, presiding as Chief Warlock, couldn't reasonably refuse. The chair recognizes Lord Potter Black. Harry approached the speaker's podium, acutely aware of the whispers his presence generated. At 10 years old, he was easily the youngest person ever to address the august body. "Honored members of the Wizengamot," he began, his voice steady despite his nerves, "I come before you today not to discuss budgets or regulations, but to address a fundamental matter of justice that has been overlooked for nearly a decade." Interest rippled through the chamber. Harry continued. "Sirius Black, heir of the House of Black and my godfather, has spent 9 years in Azkaban without ever receiving a trial before this body." The whispers erupted into shocked murmurs. Several members leaned forward, expressions ranging from outrage to discomfort to keen interest. "I have recently discovered evidence suggesting his innocence, including my parents' will, never executed, which explicitly states that Sirius Black was not their secret keeper. That role was given to Peter Pettigrew, who Sirius is accused of murdering." Amelia Bones, head of the DMLE, rose to her feet. "Lord Black, these are serious allegations. Are you suggesting the Ministry imprison an innocent man?" "I'm suggesting," Harry replied carefully, "that in the chaos following Voldemort's defeat, many members flinched at the name, proper judicial procedures were abandoned. My godfather was denied the right to Veritaserum questioning, pensive evidence review, or magical oath testimony, standard protocols in capital cases. The evidence against Black was overwhelming," Bartemius Crouch Sr. objected from his seat. "Witnesses saw him murder Pettigrew and those muggles." "Witnesses saw an explosion," Harry corrected. They heard accusations. But no one tested his wand to confirm he cast the spell. No one questioned him under Veritaserum to verify his account. He paused deliberately. No one wanted to consider that the narrative might be incomplete, because it was simpler to have a convenient villain. Minister Fudge, looking increasingly uncomfortable, leaned over to whisper urgently to Dumbledore. The Chief Warlock nodded and addressed Harry. Lord Black, while your concerns are noted, this session is dedicated to budget matters. Perhaps a formal petition was filed 2 weeks ago, Harry interrupted politely but firmly. It has been stalled in procedural review despite containing new evidence. Meanwhile, an innocent man remains in Azkaban. He turned to address the entire chamber. I am not asking this body to declare Sirius Black innocent today. I am asking for what should have been granted 9 years ago, a fair trial with all evidence properly examined. If he is guilty, let that be proven beyond doubt. If innocent, justice demands his immediate release. Amelia Bones spoke again. I was not head of the DMLE when Black was imprisoned. If what you say is true about procedural irregularities, that merits investigation. She glanced pointedly at Crouch, who had held her position during that period. I move that a preliminary review committee be formed to examine Lord Black's evidence and determine if a full trial is warranted. Seconded, Augusta Longbottom called firmly from her seat. Minister Fudge looked like he'd swallowed something unpleasant, but with public attention now focused on the issue, he could hardly object. The ministry has always stood for justice, he managed. If review is necessary, so be it. Dumbledore called for a vote on forming the committee. To Harry's satisfaction, it passed 37-13, with Madame Bones appointed to lead the investigation. As Harry returned to his seat beside Andromeda in the visitors' gallery, he caught varied reactions from around the chamber. Lucius Malfoy watched with calculated interest, neither supporting nor opposing the motion. Dumbledore's expression was unreadable, though his eyes followed Harry with new assessment. Most telling was Barty Crouch Sr., whose face had drained of color during the proceedings. Phase 1 complete, Andromeda murmured as Harry sat. Now we wait for their preliminary review, which gives us time to pursue other avenues. Like finishing the mirrors, Harry agreed quietly. And finding Peter Pettigrew. Finding Pettigrew proved more challenging than they'd anticipated. If he had indeed faked his death and escaped as an animagus, he could be anywhere, possibly even outside Britain. Without knowing his animal form, they couldn't even narrow the search parameters effectively. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. 2 days after Harry's Wizengamot appearance, an owl arrived at Ravensfield Manor bearing a letter with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of parchment with 3 lines of text: Pettigrew is a rat animagus. Check wizarding families with connections to Weasleys. Beware, he may already know you're looking. The unsigned note prompted intense debate among Harry, Andromeda, and Ted about its legitimacy and source. Could be a trap, Ted warned. Someone trying to send us on a wild goose chase. Or it could be from someone who knows the truth but doesn't want to be identified, Andromeda countered. Perhaps a former classmate of the Marauders. Harry studied the handwriting, which seemed vaguely familiar though he couldn't place it. Either way, it's a lead. If Pettigrew is a rat animagus, that fits with escaping through the sewers after the explosion. And rats can live up to 3 years in the wild, but a magical animagus in rat form could live much longer, Andromeda noted. But why mention the Weasleys? Arthur Weasley works at the Ministry, Ted recalled. Misuse of Muggle Artifacts Office. Has a large family, 7 children, I believe. Perfect cover, Harry realized. A rat hiding in a large family would be just another pet. No one would look twice. They decided to approach the Weasleys cautiously. Andromeda drafted a letter to Molly and Arthur, requesting a meeting on a matter of potential concern regarding your family's safety, without mentioning Pettigrew specifically. To their relief, the response came quickly, an invitation to the Weasley home, the Burrow, the following day. The burrow proved to be a fascinating structure that defied architectural logic, with rooms and floors added seemingly at random, held together by magic rather than conventional engineering. The Weasley family was equally colorful. Arthur and Molly welcomed them warmly, surrounded by their brood of red-headed children ranging from adult to Harry's age and younger. After introductions and initial pleasantries, they moved to the kitchen for tea while the younger Weasley children were shooed outside. "Now then," Arthur said once they were settled, "your letter mentioned a safety concern." Andromeda glanced at Harry, who nodded slightly. They'd agreed he would take the lead. "Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, I need to ask you a rather unusual question," Harry began. "Does anyone in your family own a rat? Specifically, one that might have been with you for an unusually long time?" Arthur and Molly exchanged puzzled glances. "Well, yes," Arthur replied. "Percy's rat, Scabbers. He's had him for, goodness, must be 9 years now. Found him in the garden shortly after, well, after you know who fell." Harry felt his heart rate quicken. 9 years is an unusually long life for a rat, isn't it? "We've always assumed he's magical in some way," Molly explained. "Though he doesn't do anything particularly special. Just sleeps mostly." "May I see him?" Harry asked. "It's important." Still confused but compliant, Arthur called Percy, their third oldest son, who appeared moments later carrying a fat grey rat that was indeed sleeping in his hands. "Percy, these people would like to see Scabbers for some reason," Arthur explained. The serious-faced boy adjusted his glasses suspiciously. "Why? What's so interesting about my rat?" Harry studied the creature intently. An ordinary rat to all appearances, though indeed fat and old-looking. Was there something about its paw? "Would you mind holding him a bit closer?" Harry requested. "I need to check something." Percy reluctantly extended his hands. Harry leaned forward, examining the rat carefully. There, on its front paw, a missing toe. "Mr. and Mrs. Weasley," Harry said carefully, "I believe this rat may actually be an animagus, a wizard in animal form. Specifically, Peter Pettigrew." Percy nearly dropped the rat in shock. "That's ridiculous. Scabbers is just a rat." "If he's just a rat," Andromeda interjected smoothly, "then a simple revealing spell will cause no harm. If, however, he is an animagus." Arthur's face had grown serious. "You're suggesting Peter Pettigrew, supposedly murdered by Sirius Black, has been living as Percy's pet for 9 years? That's disturbing, I know," Harry acknowledged. "But look at his front paw, he's missing a toe." "All they found of Pettigrew was a finger," Arthur finished, his face paling. He turned to Percy. "Son, put Scabbers on the floor, please." "Dad, this is mental." Percy protested. Scabbers couldn't possibly be, but as Percy spoke, the previously sleeping rat had awakened. Its beady eyes darted around, taking in the serious faces surrounding it, lingering with particular terror on Harry. Suddenly, it began squirming violently, trying to escape Percy's grip. "He's never acted like this before," Percy said, struggling to hold on. "Scabbers, stop it." The rat bit Percy's hand hard, causing the boy to yelp and drop him. The moment Scabbers hit the floor, he made a desperate dash for the door. "Stupefy." Andromeda cast quickly, but the rat dodged with unexpected agility, zigzagging across the kitchen floor. "Block the exits," Arthur commanded, drawing his own wand. For several chaotic moments, spells flew across the Weasley kitchen as the rat evaded capture with seemingly impossible awareness and reflexes. The commotion drew the other Weasley children, who watched in bewilderment from the doorway. It was the twins, Fred and George, who finally ended the chase by simultaneously casting freezing charms from opposite directions. Caught between the spells, Scabbers froze mid-scurry. "What is going on?" demanded Molly, who had ushered the youngest children back outside during the chaos. "Let's find out," Andromeda said grimly, approaching the immobilized rat. She cast the animagus revealing spell with a complex wand movement. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the rat began to change, growing and distorting hideously as it transformed from rodent to man. Seconds later, a short, balding man with pointed features lay on the Weasley kitchen floor, still frozen by the twin spells. Percy staggered backward in horror. That was sleeping in my bed for years. Peter Pettigrew, Harry breathed, staring at the man his parents had trusted with their lives, the man who had betrayed them to their deaths. Arthur recovered first, casting additional binding spells before unfreezing the man. I'm calling the Aurors, he declared, moving toward the flue. Wait, Harry said, a sudden inspiration striking. Mrs. Weasley, do you have Veritaserum in your healing supplies? Molly shook her head. That's restricted, dear. But I do, Andromeda said, reaching into her robes to produce a small vial. At Arthur's questioning look, she explained, black family precaution. Never leave home without it. Arthur hesitated only briefly before nodding. 3 drops. We need to know the truth before the Ministry gets involved. They administered the potion to the still-bound Pettigrew, whose watery eyes glazed over as it took effect. Harry stepped forward, a storm of emotions barely contained beneath his composed exterior. What is your name? He began, following the standard Veritaserum questioning protocol. Peter Pettigrew, came the flat response. Were you the secret keeper for James and Lily Potter? Yes. The single-word confirmation sent a ripple of shock through the room. Did you betray their location to Voldemort? Yes. Harry's hands trembled slightly, but he pressed on. Did Sirius Black kill those 12 muggles in the street? No. I did. How did you escape? Cut off my finger, cast the blasting curse, transformed into my rat form, and fled through the sewers. Framed Sirius for everything. Why did you hide with the Weasley family? Needed a wizarding family to stay current with news. Wanted to know if the Dark Lord returned. The Weasleys were known blood traitors but pure blood, good cover. Arthur looked physically ill at this revelation. Molly had her hand pressed over her mouth in horror. Harry asked a few more questions, establishing a complete account of Pettigrew's betrayal, framing of Sirius, and subsequent years in hiding. When he finished, Arthur immediately called the Auror office. The next several hours passed in a blur of activity. Aurors arrived, taking formal statements and securing Pettigrew for transport to the Ministry. Amelia Bones herself appeared, having been alerted to the significance of the capture. She supervised the administration of official Veritaserum questioning, which confirmed everything Pettigrew had already revealed. Lord Black, she addressed Harry formally as Pettigrew was taken away, it appears your suspicions about your godfather were well founded. I'll convene an emergency session of my review committee immediately. With this evidence, we should be able to secure his release within days. Thank you, Madam Bones, Harry replied, the formal response barely containing his turbulent emotions. The man responsible for his parents' deaths had been living comfortably as a pet while his godfather suffered in Azkaban for 9 years. The Weasleys, still processing the revelation that they had unknowingly harbored their family's betrayer, insisted Harry and Andromeda stay for dinner. The mood was somber but relieved, with Arthur repeatedly apologizing for their unwitting role in Pettigrew's escape from justice. You couldn't have known, Harry assured him. He fooled everyone, the Ministry, Dumbledore, even the Marauders who knew him best. Still, Molly said, squeezing Harry's shoulder maternally, to think he was here all those years, while that poor man was in Azkaban. The youngest Weasley boy, Ron, who was Harry's age, seemed the most disturbed by the revelation. I can't believe Percy let that murderer sleep on his pillow, he muttered, shuddering. Makes me glad I never got handed down Scabbers. By the time they departed the burrow, plans had been set in motion that would change everything. Amelia Bones promised to expedite Sirius's release proceedings, while Arthur, who had connections throughout the Ministry, pledged to ensure the story wasn't buried or distorted. Most importantly, Harry had arranged with the twins, Fred and George, who had revealed they possessed a magical map of Hogwarts created by the Marauders, to meet again and discuss his father's legacy. The connection to the prankster duo felt like a tenuous link to his father's youth, one he was eager to explore. Back at Ravensfield Manor that evening, Harry sat alone in the library, processing the day's events. The Black family magic swirled restlessly within him, responding to his emotional state, triumph at finding Pettigrew mingled with renewed grief for his parents and anger at the injustice Sirius had suffered. Andromeda found him there, staring into the fire, the flames reflecting in his green eyes. "You did well today," she said softly, taking the seat opposite him. "Your parents would be proud." "It's not finished yet," Harry replied. "Not until Sirius is free. That's only a matter of time now. Amelia Bones is thorough and fair. With Pettigrew in custody and his confession under Veritaserum, Sirius's innocence is undeniable." Harry nodded absently, his thoughts elsewhere. "I keep thinking about that anonymous note. Someone knew Pettigrew was a rat, knew he was with the Weasleys. Who would have that information but not come forward before now? Perhaps someone who also had something to hide, Andromeda suggested. Or someone who only recently learned the truth themselves. Or Remus Lupin, Harry said suddenly. The other marauder. He would have known about their animagus forms, might have suspected the truth but lacked proof. Possible, Andromeda acknowledged. Once Sirius is released, we may learn more. Harry glanced at the communication mirror he'd been modifying, now nearly complete. I still want to talk to him before they release him. He deserves to hear from me directly that I believe in his innocence, that I've been fighting for him. And you will, Andromeda promised. Amelia mentioned they'll be transferring him to a ministry holding cell tomorrow pending formal exoneration. The security there is much lighter than Azkaban. Your mirror might work. Harry picked up the mirror, studying his reflection in its surface. Soon, he might be looking at his godfather's face instead of his own. The thought filled him with nervous anticipation. What if he's not, right? Harry voiced his deeper fear. After 9 years with the Dementors. Sirius was always remarkably strong-willed, Andromeda reassured him. And the Black family magic has been supporting him since you claimed the Lordship. It won't be easy, but if anyone could emerge from Azkaban with their mind intact, it's your godfather. Harry nodded, drawing comfort from her confidence. Tomorrow, then. I'll try the mirror once he's at the ministry. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Shortly after midnight, the mirror in Harry's hands suddenly warmed, its surface rippling like disturbed water. He nearly dropped it in surprise before realizing what was happening. Someone was activating the paired mirror. Sirius, he whispered hesitantly. The surface cleared, revealing a gaunt face with sunken eyes and matted black hair, barely recognizable as the handsome young man from the photographs Harry had seen. But the eyes were alert, aware, burning with intensity. Harry. The voice was hoarse from disuse. Is it really you? Harry's throat tightened with emotion. It's me. How did you get the mirror? A bark of laughter, rough but genuine. Your pink-haired cousin. Clever girl. Slipped it to me during the transfer. Tonks. Of course. She must have learned about the transfer and seized the opportunity without telling them, to avoid getting their hopes up if it failed. Where are you now? Harry asked. Ministry holding cell. Much better accommodations than my previous residence. Sirius's attempt at humor couldn't disguise the trauma evident in his face. They're saying I'm to be released. That Pettigrew was found. Is it true, Harry? Did you find him? We did, Harry confirmed. He confessed everything under Veritaserum. You'll be officially exonerated at a special Wisengamot session tomorrow. Sirius's eyes closed briefly, overwhelming emotion crossing his ravaged features. 9 years, he whispered. 9 years in that hell, and now. His eyes opened, focusing on Harry with renewed intensity. Look at you. So like James, but Lily's eyes, and wearing the black lordship ring? It's a long story, Harry smiled tentatively. I have a lot to tell you. And I want to hear everything, Sirius assured him. But first, something went wrong with this response, please try again. Take the plot into the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.